And we're back, and so soon. I know we just did the whole whatever marathon today, the Cappy Marathon, Happy Cappy Weekend. But there is some big arrests today, and I started doing a little digging, and it kind of connects back to the whole TW Theory list of people, and connecting to it just connects so many more dots. And there's these mind map things that you can do now through Canva, and I'd started doing one for Brittany Murphy, and it kind of included the Disney sphere and some of the things, the mysterious and suspicious deaths, and the known predators in the system. In just one second here, I'm gonna try to bring this up for us. I was getting carried away with filling out what I knew already to transfer it over to the Disney sphere, and I lost track of time, so I apologize. I wasn't as fully set up as I should have been, but I just started getting going because it's like all these connections, all this stuff I kind of just know off the top of my head based on all the research and just stuff that I've been digging into recently. A lot of it was just lining up really nicely for us. So just give me 1 second. Let me readjust ourselves here. Are you going to be able to see that good? Or should we go a little more full screen here for this? I wonder if we should just go a little more full screen instead of with the container. Yeah, 1 second. Let me I'm gonna readjust here. Where's that blue edge? There it is. And do we go all the way down, or is that as far as we can go? That's not too bad. Okay. We can work with that. We'll bring it like this, make that the middle. Anyways, how's the mic sound? This is the new mic that was a donation intention. It was a donation made with the intention of to get the damn new mic that I keep putting off. Things kept getting in the way, and I kept putting it off, but that the mute button and everything, going through all that the whole time was such a fucking pain in the ass. So welcome everybody. Hey Linz, hey Go Play Outside, Kim Sunley, D Kazimi, Joker No. Welcome back, guys, especially those that already kind of spent the whole day with us. Sorry for like the last minute thing, but I figure, you know what, it's time. It's time to start keeping track of this stuff, because more and more stuff is coming up. This was the Brittany Murphy one I'm working on, and just to get a quick glance at it, I don't want to like spoil the whole thing here, but all the red ones are people no longer with us. All the pink and the blue are people that were either accused of or convicted of crimes against children, and the blue and the pink kind of tells you enough there. And then obviously combinations of means they don't have necessarily a preference. So I started this because we got the connections with, I'm gonna have to readjust some of these. I had to move some of them around, but we got Rob Reiner, the main iceberg, connecting to this recent arrest of Timothy Busfield, who connects to some other very interesting people that connect back to some of like the OG networks that existed before, like, well, I guess the Epstein thing already existed too, but before people even knew about the Diddy and the Epstein, and before that even became a thing, there was Den. And there's just so much going on here. And this is just one side of the sphere. It's starting to work its way over. I set up the time for it, and then I was going to kind of just do this all on stream, but then I just started going and getting carried away. But we're going to continue it as we're going into the stream. So as you can see, we've got the Disney. Hold on, still getting the hang of how the hotkeys and how this all works with this this whiteboard thing. It's kind of a newer thing. I didn't know about it, or I feel like I would have been using this so much sooner. It comes in so much handier. Oh, now we're resizing this chat here. Hold on. Resizing the wrong thing. And then married to Melissa Gilbert, which connects to Sarah Gilbert, which connects to so many other things too. So, but anyways, so we're going to build over to the Nickelodeon sphere, but right away we're already making the connections between Disney TV, Walt Disney Pictures, the Den, and of course, again, all the blue ones are either like lots of allegations, have settled out of court, or have been convicted. So like your Brian Peck and his connections. Obviously, we're going to start working our way over as we go here, but just to give you a little tour. So then we've got, you know, the River Phoenix situation, how it connects, the pre-Disney sphere kids movie genre type stuff, and how that all connects together, the Disney Renaissance, and what all that connects to. So we got a lot going on here, and I don't know, I hope you guys can see. I was trying to make them big enough and bold enough that everybody could see well enough, but then so I could fit everything. And then there's so many connections, so many different connections. I don't know if you guys know about the Victor Salva thing, but I actually can make that probably smaller. But the way that connects with a lot of things, and then connects back to the big iceberg that I don't think we're allowed to talk about that. So, but you guys can make the connection of who the iceberg is, I believe, with all the things it connects to. So just give me one sec, guys. Actually, I think I'm gonna let the dog in the other room so she's not distracting me through this. I got sucked so into doing it, then all the preparation I usually would do in that first half hour before the stream kind of went out the window. So just give me one sec. I'm just gonna let her into the other room. Oh man, this microphone is a friggin' dream though. Like, it's not even anything fancy, but just the way the button works, and then you can tell for sure, like, it lights up and you know that it's on or not on. Okay, anyway, so where do we even begin here? We're gonna go, it's gonna be a group project from here, but like I said, I just kind of started going. So it all starts with the big iceberg, I feel like, is the topic of interest. It's somebody Cappy mentioned a bunch of times. It's somebody I think a lot of people have alluded to, as well as Rob Reiner, which we know Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman has been the yellows, the whistleblowers. I'm going to add them in. I don't know. The colors might kind of change as we go, and we might be adding different circles to the outside, because some of these people were trespassed against in childhood and then turned around and trespassed against others, like in the case of Drake Bell and the other arrest today, what's his name, Prokop or Cop, what, Mark something. Hold on. It just, so many things started connecting, and I just, like, I needed to do this. I needed to start putting this together, because when you really start looking at it overall and how many things connect and who connects to who and how, it's just, and then when you consider the TW theory we've been talking about, and I mean, obviously with everything going on right now between the Reiner thing and then the Victoria Jones, I'm going to have to fit that in here, because that fits, Tommy Lee Jones fits with Schumacher and Reiner, and that's going to have to fit into here somewhere. I'm starting to already get a little crowded, so things will have to move around, but these things move pretty easy. It's actually like so freaking handy. And then I think I might have to do the color coding a little different for people that have, like, for sure been convicted versus people that have been accused, and then versus people that have settled, like, outside of court kind of thing. So no, see, this is the very secretive extra layer of, I believe, like, some people, it's like they don't want to get their hands dirty, but they like the content. Like, as you can tell with the TW theory, right? But where it's not quite as obvious, in other situations, it's obvious of why these people would invest in this person, because what comes of this, hold on, actually, I don't know if you can see it. Hold on, I gotta, scroll back a bit. There we go. What connects these people to this company, and then to this movie and this person, and what was produced during this movie, I think is more what these people were interested in versus the movie, because this movie was shit. This was a shit movie. He went to jail for it. When he got out, immediately pretty much, he was able to do this movie with this company, the Diz side of the Disney sphere, and then he was rewarded with being given the funding and executive producing of this franchise by this person, who also said that his going to jail for the crimes against Nathan Forrest Winters, which maybe I should start adding the victims too, because he's still with us. He's not passed on, where obviously the red ones are people that passed on, but Nathan Forrest Winters is still with us. But he was the child trespassed upon in this scenario. And once he got out of jail, this guy was like, don't worry, the whole process, the whole experience is good for you. And while he was in jail, he wrote this movie and started thinking up this franchise. And this was his reward for the 15 months or whatever he had to spend in prison. And he comes out and he goes along with his career like nothing happened. There's probably a lot more instances of that. And I think slowly but surely I'm kind of uncovering that by making these different connections. Because in a lot of cases, there's, like, Schumacher, for example, spoke very openly about being active in his youth and with men and women, that he'd started really young and that he never considered himself a victim. So he spoke really openly about that, and then connecting to him are a lot of things, a lot of children that didn't make it or got really heavy into substances. There's a whole other side to that. That's the same guy that said when he met Drew Barrymore, he thought she was exquisite, like using words like exquisite child. Like the way he was talking about it was very gross, like disturbing, right? So again, he's like not convicted, not confirmed, but based on some of the connections, his own admissions, and some of the stuff that he has connected to that has led to these situations. Is questionable. So I don't even know where you guys want to start here. If you want me to explain more, if you want me to keep just adding connections here, or where you want to go with this, but like this is the introductory situation here. And I was kind of just working on this in here just when I realized I was getting close to the time to have to get started. Got to start filming Rolling Stone Sympathy. Oh, yeah? Interesting. You can see it. I feel like I just need time to really process. Yeah. Yeah, like, it's a lot at once. So even maybe just going over this as the first entry level and then connecting things over here, that might be enough for you guys just for today, because it is a lot. It is a lot. This digital entertainment network, I gotta finish filling this out too, because there's more to that too. Oh, now we're way too zoomed. Hold on. Here we go. This guy didn't actually, no, we're gonna want one of these. This guy didn't end up, he was kind of named, but he didn't end up being as involved in the aftermath, where this guy, Mark Collins Rector, was doing the original parties for what was referenced to as like the gay A-list. So like Bryan Singer, you had like Ian McClellan there, Gary Goddard, then all these people too, David Geffen, Bryan Singer, David Newman, and there's another guy, I'm gonna have to add him in. They were all early investors. And what was really going on here, it was like on the front end, they're doing the digital entertainment network. It was like an early precursor to Netflix. But really, it was just an excuse to have a bunch of young kids come for these shows and do auditions and do the whole thing. All these parties were happening at this guy's house that people like Kevin Spacey went to, Bryan Singer, like I said, Ian McClellan, which also was part of Apt Pupil. I'm going to have to add him in too. But all these parties that were happening in this sphere, there was a ton of material made. Like 8,000 different files made of material during this time. And when Mark Collins Rector was facing prosecution, he fled. He had fled. And when they had caught him in Spain, he'd been found with all this material, all this stuff going on. They were doing some shady stuff with digital currency. And now Brock Pierce, who worked closely with Mark Collins Rector in the early Den years and afterwards, they all were working together on the currency. He's now sitting on Bitcoin Foundation. And he's one of the most insanely rich Bitcoin early investors. So, I mean, I can't really make any specific accusations there, but it is widely believed that a lot of these digital currencies that were coming out were for paying for things online that were legal, basically, like Silk Road, if you go back to Silk Road and you go back to all this. So there's a good chance that whatever funding had come from this, whatever was left over from the investing when it finally went under because of all of the accusations and all of the things against Mark Collins Rector, all the accusations against Bryan Singer. Geffen, I believe, has had some. He openly dates very much younger men, I believe is the guy. I might have to double check that one. I was kind of filling this out like it was just like a fever dream type ferociousness. So actually, let me double check, because I might be confusing Geffen with Goddard, but they were all both in the same. Yeah, he is. He's like 80, and he just now, I guess, is getting sued by his like 70 years younger husband. So he's openly into younger, but at least legal enough, this David Geffen guy. But he is so connected to this earlier Den situation, and I believe he was also named in some of the lawsuits against Den and Mark Collins Rector. But anyways, there was something going on there, more than just the parties and more than just the hookups. And what he was caught with, this guy was caught with in Spain, and his being able to, he eventually was able to flee. He was saying he was going to go to the UK to get a brain surgery from a specialist there that couldn't happen in the States. And he went and just never came back. So same with like Polanski, where they just kind of take off and never come back. So now he's living very comfortably with now, and I guess it's legal over there for the age difference for what he's going for right now. Bryan Singer got away scot-free, pretty much. He paid some settlements, and off he went. Brian Peck, as you know, with the Quiet on Set thing, he had done things with, had trespassed against a young Drake Bell while working on the Nickelodeon, which actually here, we'll flip back to the Brittany Murphy one, because this is a little more filled out on this side. So the Disney sphere, this is the Nickelodeon, the Dan Schneider of it all, Brian Peck. So this is where I kind of was going into it for the Brittany Murphy side of things and how that all connects. So all of these early investors, Bryan Singer's connected, a lot of them are connected to Mark Collins Rector. This is sort of the messier version. Might be adjusting it as well before it ends up in the Brittany Murphy video. But how all these people connected, so like Drake Bell was connected to the Drake and Josh show, Amanda Bynes. There was the Dan Schneider, who was interested in I mean, it was a little more fetishism, so he couldn't get in trouble for it. But he was into kids' feet, so that was that. And then you've got, you know, all the people that accused, Jeanette McCurdy had accused him. We've got the Ariana Grande connections here and how that all connects back to, oops, now we're moving stuff. Let's not move it. How that all connects back to like the Brittany Murphy situation. So that's a whole nother thing for another day. But as I started going into this, the amount of lost souls along the way, how it connects to some other stuff. So the Corey Feldman also connects to the Alfie Soda Pop Club, the Marty Weiss. Then we have these handful of predators that were working closely with children on at Nickelodeon during the same time as the Dan Schneider thing was happening. And of course, this is sort of, they started going into this stuff on the Quiet on Set series, and then they kind of fizzled off. But then on this side with the Den, it's again, it's a little messy, but how it connected with Brock Pierce to the Bitcoin. Bob Villard also had represented Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire back in the day, and he was arrested for harm material. He used to be a photographer, and he would sell topless photos of young boys on the internet. So when you think of the TW theory, this is that's all introduced to the TW theory situation, like how even just the topless photos, like it doesn't seem like much because it's a little boy and they don't have anything that's not like a little girl has on the top end, so it's not, you know, it's a little normalized for men to walk around topless. But when you think of it, if an adult is going to be finding any kind of gratification with that, that's the issue there. And with the TW theory, it shows that there is a lot of instances and a lot of catering to that clientele in that sphere with that kind of material. And that's all it takes is like this guy was making bank just off doing like the headshots and certain angles, certain positions or whatever you want to say, or like poses that based on what their clients would want. And on one hand, he's like a photographer agent managing these young child stars like Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire, Brock Pierce. But on the other hand, he's part of the problem. So the way that this happens, this Brock Pierce and how he was likely early on trespassed upon and kind of used in such a way, he then on the flip side became part of the problem. Like, same with Drake Bell, kind of was starting to become part of the problem and had some accusations against him. And Brock Pierce happens to also connect back to this most recent arrest, the one just from today. And this guy had accusations against him like way back in the 90s. Way back in the 90s. And he connects. He connects to Brock Pierce through First Kid, which was a movie with Sinbad and Brock Pierce. And then Brock Pierce connects, like, actually to the Charlie Sheen family in enough ways because he played the young version of Emilio Estevez in the Mighty Ducks movies. So he's, like, in the opening scene of the Mighty Ducks movies. He's the kid in the opening scene. So some of these people, they maybe originally were just a victim, but then later they become part of the problem, where later when he was signing on and becoming part of the Bitcoin Foundation, 10 other members of the Bitcoin Foundation quit due to his connection to crimes against children in the past. And somehow that was fine. Instead of just not letting him on board and keeping the 10 other people, they let 10 people quit and brought on all these new people and this guy, like however long ago, decades ago now. But the way this all connects, I'm going to have to start moving more stuff around. But when you start looking at how many things connect back to certain entities and who has been tight since the beginning, and what they've been involved in, it does sort of make some implications that it's feeding a bigger system and going backwards. Do you know what I mean? Like, for people that don't want to get their hands dirty but enjoy the material, there's people like this guy that will make it. You know what I mean? Or people like this guy. Or people like, you know what I mean? So, or this guy for sure, like... Not necessarily accused, but as far as catering to a certain clientele that to the naked eye you would never get it, you would never see it. Like, and this is where I'm developing the TW theory, which it's linked in the description. It's free for all users, members, whatever you want to call it. It is on Patreon because I do post like blogs and different stuff over there, but it's free to everybody. Pretty much everything is. If it's not, it will be soon. Paid members just get early access to stuff, and there's some other features and benefits, but the TW theory is kind of in development, and it's interesting this Reiner thing has happened because basically the earliest Dark Hollywood videos kind of had started with the River Phoenix situation and kind of went out from there of who was involved, who was there that night, who he was hanging out with and doing the heavy narcotics, and that's sort of the birth of the Dark Hollywood thing. Which is interesting because then we have that obviously connects back to Rob Reiner. And then last month, or I guess a couple months ago now, early November, I was just starting to put together my TW theory. And I had published it in early November on Patreon. And one of the most disturbing examples of the TW theory was Stand By Me with Rob Reiner, River Phoenix, the whole situation. Which actually at this point I should probably include Elijah Wood and that movie North, because there's more going on there too. But as far as we know, not necessarily anything happened to Elijah, but he has spoken really openly about there being that problem in the industry. I believe North was under Castle Rock too, wasn't it? So when you start seeing people that have been whistleblowers and who they connect to, and, you know, all this stuff, it starts to kind of tell a story. Whether we can necessarily prove anything or not, we cannot, but, like, there's got to be a reason there's so many lost souls along the way. It's a Voldemort that I don't think we can name, but if you look up this company, who made this company? Just look that up. I don't know. I don't want to die. And Cappy got himself in a lot of hot water for talking specifically about the iceberg. The Voldemort, the iceberg of Voldemorts. But anyway, so Elijah Wood, Castle Rock. Oh, wait, hold on. Actually, we want to connect that differently. Because there's probably more to that, because Cappy was saying something about Jesse Smollett, who worked on this movie back in the day, and it's one of the early Rob Reiner movies that he was making while Nick was really small, and it starred Elijah Wood, and then, you know, later on Elijah came out and said a lot of stuff about Hollywood, and not necessarily having experienced himself, but obviously he had witnessed some things, so that's another compelling connection, I would say. And it fits the TW theory as well, just differently, because some instances it's like they're it's not that they're in like undressed, but the type of clothes they're wearing and the angles that they come in on are kind of suspicious. Do you know what I mean? So like with North, there's the scene which actually is now cut from the final. It's like in newer the streaming services and in newer versions of it, it's been cut. But there's a scene. There's actually I guess there's a few scenes, and I didn't end up watching the whole thing. But the one scene that was part of the Hawaii part of the movie that got cut. He's like in a paraglider thing, and the way the harness and the shorts are, it's basically like very much emphasizing his little kid parts, right front spread into the like viewer's face, like dead center in the viewer's face, and the way that the parachute's kind of like dangling him there. It's just it's fucking, there's something weird there. And then there's a reason they've cut that stuff in later versions, because when you look back at the TW theory and you start looking at other movies made by certain people and the people that ended up having all these problems with heavy narcotics later and or causing harm to themselves or others, which I mean, once the Reiner thing happened, and having just literally dropped the TW theory, and with having Stand By Me being one of like the number one most disturbing examples of the TW theory, and then the thing with Nick Reiner happened, it just kind of, if anything, it just further confirmed the TW theory situation. If you know what I mean. If you've already read it, then you know what I mean already, but you might not have read it, and that's okay. It's linked in the description. I think you're kind of getting the idea of it anyway. Actually, no, we don't want this. We want, I don't know what color to make his sun right yet. It's probably going to be a different color because he's obviously, there's a crime involved. But maybe we'll make him yellow. I don't know. We're figuring this out as we go. Oh no, I don't like that. Never mind. Hold on. We're gonna use one of these. Because in a way, I guess maybe he is a whistleblower. We don't know, but Rob Reiner himself said that anyone in jail for a violent crime had a nightmare childhood. So, I mean, there's too many weird things connecting there to ignore it when you consider the River Phoenix of it all. And I mean, obviously, I still have more research to do with the Reiner situation, so I'm sure there's going to be more TW theory movies. There is the one too that actually the Lord of the Flies seems like it would fit. I haven't seen the movie yet. I haven't checked it out yet, but knowing the story of Lord of the Flies and the fact that they're probably all wearing like loincloths and shit is concerning, because Victor Salva, this is how Nathan Forrest Winters talks about it, and that was how he had first started making a pass at him, was he was watching The Jungle Book with him, and then they talked about loincloths, and Victor Salva tied a loincloth on Nathan Forrest Winters and was touching him during that. And that was like the entry level into that. So anything to do with little loincloths or any of that, like partial or whatever, various levels of disrobed that they have kids in movies, that it's just not even necessary. Like obviously in the Lord of the Flies, it kind of is necessary, or Hook from the 90s was kind of necessary for what the storyline is. But there's so many movies where it's just not necessary at all. Like with Stand By Me and that one scene, which Stephen King and Rob Reiner were all very like into it. We watched the behind the scenes about Stand By Me the other day, and the way that both Stephen King and Rob Reiner were very about that specific scene with the leeches, and how like it was so representative of their childhood and so bringing back memories. Like apparently it was a real situation that Stephen King had experienced as a child, and it was like one of his fondest memories was getting naked with his friends, because they all went skinny dipping and they had leeches, so they all took their clothes off and pulled the leeches off each other. It was like one of his fondest memories as a kid. So if that's not something a weirdo would say that also writes child group sessions at the end of their books, which probably is why he ended up being such a huge horror writer, because as if there's never been any better horror writers that we could have 4,000 movies about throughout time. But he wrote, I don't know, some of you guys might not know that because they don't include it in the movie, but in the end of it, the kids are coming of age by experimenting with each other in a group adult activity. And after that, pretty much after that, he became like the most revered horror writer of all time. And actually, while he was writing that, he was working on Firestarter with the young Drew Barrymore, who had been spending weekends with him and his kids. And so while he's got Drew Barrymore working and playing with his kids, and like there's this like supposed to be kind of a wholesome thing going on, he's writing about children experimenting with adult themes with each other in his book. It was all around the same time. And yeah, like we know he's sort of coming up on lists and he's a little bit of weirdo, but then he connects back strongly, not just through Stand By Me, but Rob Reiner named Castle Rock not only after the fort that was in Lord of the Flies, which is likely where Stephen King got the idea, but Stephen King's, one of his frequently used fictional towns in a lot of his work is called Castle Rock in Maine. So Rob Reiner's company is Castle Rock Entertainment as a nod to Stephen King, and then they worked closely together on Stand By Me, and Stand By Me is a weird freaking movie. And then Stephen King also wrote Apt Pupil, which Apt Pupil had a TW Theory scene, which literally was what was quoted in this was what Bryan Singer had been accused of being inappropriate from a bunch of kids from that movie, because there was a shower scene that was not necessary. And usually kids, if they're going to be showing, like, it's supposed to be kind of partial nudity, they're supposed to wear, like, little spandex Speedos that are nude colored. And basically, Bryan Singer said, well, no, you're going to take them off or we're going to replace you to all these kids. And so who knows what other footage he got from that outside of the scene of what ended up in the final cut. But then we know that the star of that movie, Brad Renfro, didn't make it very far. So, like, that is a huge TW Theory movie. Then we got Stand By Me, obviously, TW Theory. So I don't even know. There's so much more to add in here. There's going to be more to connect. This is sort of just the introductory stream, I guess, for this. And it's probably going to just be ongoing because there's going to be a lot more to fill in there. And then when you get into the different spheres as far as, like, music, and you get into the sci-fi-tology of it all, like, this is the part of the Brittany Murphy connecting stuff. And you start connecting all the different deaths and what all of them had to do with and why. And how they all connect back to each other. Which, again, I'm kind of spoiling the last episode of Brittany Murphy. But we're going to go into it more when we get over there. But how it all connected together and what she may or may not have been aware of. And people that were close to her that were tightly knitted into this sphere. And how that all played out and why, and them having their own little connections. That's a whole nother thing. But we're probably going to have to do their own spheres. Like, the music side's going to need a sphere. The Disney side's going to need a sphere. But it's happening. This is what's happening. Now that I know about this mind map thing especially, and to make it visual, to see visually and start connecting things, I feel like it packs a lot more of a punch with really understanding how prevalent and what's really going on here, you know? It's funny that when the Menendez brothers stuff came out, I remember them being twins due to the parody and Cable Guy. Fair enough. First thing that came to mind as it came on the news was, yeah, you guys think so too, eh, Brady? Yeah, and I'm considering whether or not maybe there's more to that too, of that maybe it wasn't Nick, but it could still have been somebody really close within the family. I don't know. That obviously is yet to be seen. But the way that Alan Jackson was very passionate about Nick Reiner not being guilty of murder, like, obviously it sounds like that there was some involvement. The way that they're making it sound, the way that the district attorney was making it sound, that yeah, he did do something, but by the definition by law that maybe it's not necessarily murder and there was something bigger going on there. And the way he was very passionate and he's like, all the truth's going to come out in Discovery. Like, he's very, like, gung-ho. And, like, from day one, I was saying that this feels a lot like a Donnie Darko situation. Like, Menendez brothers and a Donnie Darko situation. And when you start lining things up, and then now with this arrest today, and I have to put the other one, the Kropkov. I didn't even know where that other guy came from, but he is like a Brock Pierce of today. This what's his name now? It's kind of a weird last name. Hold on. Which I'd seen that one first before I saw the Busfield one. Shit, let me go back. Hold on. But the way that so many other things just started connecting. Matt Prokop, he worked with a bunch of Disney stuff early on, and then he's been arrested with having harmful material. And he fits in here somewhere. So actually, let's maybe stick him in. I don't know what color to put him, though, because... yeah, I guess maybe we'll use this one, because it was material, so it was harm to both boys and girls. But he, I believe, was also a victim at one point, because he did work on this show called Good Luck Charlie, which actually he should go over here, because Good Luck Charlie, this guy was working, and he's convicted. And he's basically what the movie The Open Secret's about, which Cappy had his opinions, which I found out that the Gabe Hoffman guy he kept talking about was the guy that created Open Secret, which in some ways maybe it was like throwing some lower level people under the bus and distracting from the higher level people that some people have been trying to reveal and expose over the years. But I think either way, any exposure is good exposure when it comes to this stuff. So I don't know if that, I don't know what happened between Cappy and the Gabe Hoffman guy. I don't know exactly what was going on there, but when I found out that he was the guy that did The Open Secret, I'm like, well, can't be all the way bad if he's trying to reveal people that were convicted of crimes against kids and then were continuing to work with kids. And for networks that do lots of kids shows, it is a little weird. So I thought that was a good movie, and he was a good guy, but I guess you never know why they're making that movie, if it's just to throw other people into the bus, or if it's because they're actually trying to clean the swamp. I don't know. Oh, actually, I think he's on other shows too, but maybe we'll do it like this, just so that it doesn't get so confusing. It's already going to be confusing. It's already very confusing. And actually, we should add that show in too, because that's Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, which as soon as he gets out of jail for doing things to a young Drake Bell, they put him on a set with two twin boys that are like they're before the age of what he was involving himself with. But it's like, it's still just not, I don't know, it's still very irresponsible. Whether it's the age range or not, if they're going to become that age, that's just more time to warm them up to it, in my opinion. Like grooming and stuff, right? So, still kind of figuring out how these connect and how they work. But then when you get it to work, there we go. Cool. Yeah, so when you start to see where these people connect to, it was like he was at some point very potentially a victim, but then was groomed and is now a culprit, where that's the difference. Some people become like whistleblowers and want to reveal and do something about it that were victims as kids. There's other people that become part of the system, and I think ultimately that's what they prefer, is them to just become part of the system, like the way that Drake Bell did, which I'm going to have to fit him into here, because we've got Nickelodeon over here. Slowly but surely, we will be filling the things in. I guess we put him as pink because he did technically go and do wrong things against a young girl, and he was, yeah, he kind of was getting messy. I think he's gone and gotten help now, and I hope that he does not continue having issues with that. But he did end up facing in court, but he in the beginning had been a victim too, right? So like there's a difference there, and if there's maybe more awareness and more help for people when they're victims, instead of them feeling eventually that they need to become part of it, or it's so far gone that they become part of the system that broke them to begin with, you know. I don't know if there's a way to stop that. I think it ends up being a personal decision, because there's a lot of people that face pretty horrific shit that don't end up hurting people or doing the things that happened to them as a kid. So I don't think that it's an excuse that if you're a victim and then become a perpetrator, like I don't see that as an excuse, but I do think that at some point, it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And then how do we fucking stop it? I don't know. But this is, maybe by breaking it down and seeing how it all connects, we can get a little closer to, I don't know. I don't actually know if this is helping anything, but just to show the prevalence, you know, and how much it's actually been right in our face the whole time, you know? Easier to get past the hurdles like the Gabe Hopman thing, limited hangout. Is a vocabulary term to learn and know? I'll have to look that up. Or can you explain? What do you mean? Definitely saying something with Donnie Darko. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then if you watch The Stand-In, very interesting film. Some of her work is very interesting that she chose to do when she was doing her own thing. We want one of these for Amanda show. Yeah, I'll start doing the Nick side now. But it all connects back. Like, I was actually not even surprised that, as I was looking into this Timothy Busfield thing, that it happened to connect back to the whole sphere. Like, not really surprising at all. Maybe that's how we'll do it. We'll leave it white if we know they were also a victim, but we'll leave it black if they... I don't know, because then we have these ones. I don't know, we're going to figure it out as we go. I'm not sure. But this one's going to be Dan Schneider. Because then there's people, too, that it's not even that person necessarily that's doing the thing. It's for another person, too. Like, over here we have where Rob Reiner had originally done The West Wing. But then he ended up giving it over. Like, he filmed the pilot, directed the pilot for a West Wing. And then once it got signed on and got picked up by the network, he handed it off to his friend Aaron Sorkin to take over, who they worked on A Few Good Men together. He had written A Few Good Men. They did the movie, so on and so forth. Then the West Wing connects to a bunch of other shit, which also connects to the Timothy Busfield thing. So you got to think of where sometimes careers are being handed over to friends. And when you look at this guy, he's got a lot of weird shit going on. He was very heavy duty into drugs. And like him and Martin Sheen, Charlie Sheen's dad, were given like an award for being able to overcome addiction. And then like the next week, this guy was found with like a crack pipe and a bunch of other stuff. So just goes to show the hypocrisy sometimes in the industry as well. And like Martin Sheen, we know he just off and on over the years was having problems and produced Charlie Sheen, who I think around that time was literally going through his 2011 meltdown while his dad's getting like an honorable mention for his overcoming substance abuse or whatever. Like ridiculousness. Also, I think if we can see the web, possibly we can dismantle it. Yeah, like you start to see, and like it's like how with Nick Shirley was showing the fraud and how it all connected. He's like, I don't know what to do about it, but this is something I'm noticing, and this is something we should do something about, probably, right? And eventually people that could do something about it or knew what to do about it started getting together, and eventually shit happened, right? Jeanette McCurdy talking about the Dan Schneider thing and like opened up that can of worms for more people that hadn't taken the $300,000 hush money check were able to speak out on it, right? And then people like Amanda Bynes almost don't have to. Like, we know, and it's okay. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not your shame. It's not her shame to bear, you know? Same with Drake Bell. It's not your shame to bear with the Brian Peck situation. But if you turn around and are doing the same things, then it very much is your shame to bear, right? So this is where maybe if we can be more open about it in a way that the victims can get more help sooner instead of feeling shame all around, because there is always a lot of victim shaming and blaming, and there's reasons why people like Amanda Bynes have never spoke out, or, you know, we don't actually know whose kid Jamie Lynn Spears is. You know, a lot of people think that it's not the person they said and it's somebody else. But it was illegal, and yeah, like there was already just enough mess going on there. I don't know. So maybe we can start making it where more people are talking, then more people feel comfortable talking about it. Where they did the Quiet on Set thing, and Drake Bell opened up and started talking about things, and more people were saying things, and then even Ariana Grande spoke up and said some things. She's sort of going off the rails now, and I think she may have got in trouble for speaking up on some stuff, but she did speak kind of openly about, oh yeah, like she didn't realize how weird all the feet stuff was, and until the Quiet on Set, and then thinking about how her mother should have known better and what had gone on there.
and that they need to be able to have parents that are allowed to just be anywhere on the set whenever they want, and there shouldn't be, like, there needs to be more regulations. Like, she started really speaking out on it, and then she stopped suddenly, and now she's like having some issues. I don't know exactly what issues, but between her weight loss and she definitely seems to be a little bit struggling a little bit, you know. Actually, maybe we don't need two of those. That works. But yeah, so like as more people speak up though, then other bigger people are becoming more comfortable speaking out, and if more people like Ariana Grande are speaking out, then maybe we can prevent less of, like, more of this. Maybe there could be less of this and more breaking it wide open and having something be done about it. Because obviously, like, yeah, Dan Schneider got a nice payoff deal when everything started coming out, but he's probably never coming back to the industry. He's talked about coming back and having a foyer back into the kids genre, but nobody's gonna pick up his shit anymore. Like, there's no way. He could try to self-produce it, but now that it's like, now the cat's out of the bag. Same with like Bryan Singer, the cat's out of the bag. So whether or not he ever faced the, like, he didn't do any jail time, he didn't, like, nothing really happened to him, he's never working again. You know, like, too many people know now. He got kicked off of Dark Phoenix or whatever he was working on last, and he'll never work again in the industry unless he self-funds it. And I guess he was going to try to do some documentary to, like, clear his name and all this bullshit, but there's too much history there. Like, people could still go back and see the original Den websites and what was all going on with that and who was involved and what kind of crimes. And, you know, like, the internet's forever. Even if they try to delete the website, there's people have taken screenshots of stuff. Like, there's too much still going on that they can't hide it forever, you know? And then what was it? Sam and Cat. What was the other one? I think it was like iCarly or something. But the one that Jeanette McCurdy was on. Actually, no, we don't want that. We'll do another one of these. That could go on forever. And then, like, there's 5 or 6 guys that all at the same, like, pretty much around the same time, we're all working at Nickelodeon. And then whether they were convicted while working at Nickelodeon and still or not, I don't know. We'll have to go. I think you can add little notes to these too, like little comments as you go. So I'll start adding little comments, and then I think actually I can share the link, and then you guys can view it anyways. I wouldn't make it editable because I don't need anybody going in and destroying the thing, but like privately, so it's also not revealing, like, or connecting in any of my shit, but that you guys can go in and view and hover and see the notes and whatever at your leisure. So eventually I think I want to get it more filled out and then start adding notes and stuff before I start sharing the link. But eventually we will make it a link situation, and then if there's stuff that you guys want to recommend that needs to be added, or other stuff you know about that needs to be added to the, like, that isn't a link that I've forgotten, like, it's there on the mind map, but not, there's a missing link there, we will do it together. But yeah, there's a bunch of these here, the Sam and Cat, and then there was the one before that Ariana and Jeanette McCurdy had worked on together before Sam and Cat, and then that was like a spin-off. But then the Ariana Grande stuff, like, what that all connects to on the other side, and then the whole music industry, like, that would be a whole nother sphere. Like, this is probably just gonna, like, it can go on forever. We have room. We have room for it to go on and connect however we want, or we can make new ones for different, like, to go zero in on certain spheres. Like, we could do just a Nickelodeon one, just a Disney one, or you could do just, like, certain spheres within the music industry. Because, like, when we go over here and you start looking at how much weird stuff was going on in this sphere and how that all connected, and, like, the Ariana of it all connects to this guy that you know, Kanye has spoken about. Mac Miller is another suspicious death connected to this Harley Pasternak guy. Same with Brittany Murphy and her husband, and who he all connected to at that time. Like, there's so much more there, and this is all kind of squashed together, and it doesn't make much sense. It's a lot messier, but I was kind of just starting to figure it out. So I'm probably going to clean this up before it ends up in the Brittany Murphy video too anyways. Now that I figured out this straight line connecty thing, this looks a lot cleaner. Oh, yeah. Well, and it used to be a foot. And we know that Dan Schneider, and then when you think about the Dan Schneider thing, though, it wasn't even just Dan Schneider. Who was best buddies with Dan Schneider way back when they were on, what was it, Head of Class? They were on Head of Class together. They were all really good friendables. This guy, and now guess who he is. Go look this guy up and see where he worked his way up to after this, because he was in charge really of everything, and he was just kind of letting this guy have his little free-for-all and make the money. But that doesn't mean he was completely innocent, because he also hired all these people, and then there's all these people that didn't make it, that all had some kind of connection somewhere in here. This kid, after Open Secret, he was part of the Open Secret, and he died mysteriously after too. So I know that Cappy had his feelings about Gabe Hoffman, but this guy that they revealed in an Open Secret, and some of the stuff they had talked about, they were talking about the Den network, they were talking about all this, that was good information. And shortly after that, this guy died. And then there was the Showbiz Kids, and right before that could be released, this guy died. And all part of the same spheres. So, like, what the fuck is going on? And Michelle Trachtenberg, she died not long ago, and she was in the sphere, and she had crossed paths with Brittany Murphy as well. So the amount of people around her sphere that were mysteriously dying, and this sphere, like, there's a lot of other stuff going on trying to protect these kinds of spheres, you know? Is really what it's starting to look like the more I dig and look at the bigger picture. Yeah, it all links. Dual Royal one. Well, I haven't done, like, I'm just starting out with these mind map things, so, I mean, we could go whatever direction, but, I mean, the rot goes from the bottom to the top, so, I mean, we could start linking back through, like, with Jimmy Savile was in television for years, because then this is just American television, too, really, like, North America, like, there was so much other stuff going on in the UK, and probably different stuff in Australia, like, that I don't even know about, that we could start building off of. But this is just the beginning, like, the starting variety of people who agreed and amplified the free Britney movement, the free Amanda Bynes movement, free Bam Margera. Those people are still with us now, right? And maybe we were too late on the Aaron Carter thing, and we didn't realize how much was really going on there, and a lot of people were just calling him some crazy junkie, whatever. But when you start looking back, he connected to Brian Peck too. He was very embedded in both sides of the Disney sphere. He was surrounded by people, you know, just before Justin Bieber. And then we know what happened to Justin Bieber, like, very openly, everyone grabbing him, like, on stage, and just, like, that whole thing. Like, Aaron Carter was crawling so that Justin Bieber, or he walked so Justin Bieber could run, you know what I mean? So everything that was going on, though, the Amanda Bynes era was Aaron Carter era, and everything that was going on at between Disney and Nickelodeon at the time, was affecting kids from the 80s and 90s, and then it just keeps, like, it's becoming more refined over the years, if I feel like some of them are a success story. Like, if you look at Ariana Grande, she's kind of a success story, having gone through it, but still being this superstar and music artist and so on and so forth, right? So, in some cases, whatever they're doing works, but then in other cases, it completely destroys people. And I think it's just the level of knowing, because I don't think Ariana had even realized the degree of the exploitation and trespasses against her that wasn't even necessarily a physical thing, but that just all those scenes that she was filmed doing, and who was consuming that material and why. And then she was saying, like, whatever got shot down by the executives and didn't make it into the show, they put it on the fan site. So all the creepy people that were into the friggin' shit, that on the surface it was like under the guise of kids' humor, but people that were into the kids putting feet in their mouth and shit like that, and the stuff that didn't make it on the show, it just went on the fan site. So when Ariana started realizing that stuff, now, since then, she's had this downward spiral in a way, you know, like it was like early into the press tour for Wicked that the Quiet on Set documentary came out, and that was what, like March of last year or the year before, and then ever since, she's sort of been just withering away in such a way and seeming to be being kind of troubled. And then she went in and started doing that EMDR therapy and stuff, which that's complex trauma, and usually that's a treatment for dissociative disorder, spectrum disorders. So, I mean, hopefully enough people understand now, and it can be spoken of openly enough that we're not going to continue losing people along the way. That they're not going to just be like talked shit about and made to feel like they're the problem and they're doing something wrong when they're just trying to self-soothe or self-medicate whatever they went through as a kid, you know? And I think we're getting there. I think we're slowly getting there. I think we're starting to learn. And yeah, like Amanda Bynes is still with us, and you know, Bam Margera, Justin Bieber, and so if we can, and like Ariana Grande, so if we can keep having that empathy and the awareness, and not treating them like shit, basically. Like a lot of them are like, oh, you're spoiled rich kids and you're a celebrity, what do you got to be sad about, or oh, what's so wrong in your life, or you know, the way that we've viewed it and sensationalized and glorified the meltdowns, and the way we've been approaching it this whole time is just fucking not, it's not right. It's not right. So maybe, I don't know, maybe putting it into perspective and really seeing how far the damage goes and who it connects to. So when people are struggling, maybe we already know and we can just be supportive and not be treating them like fucking, you know, the way we did with Eric Carter. Like, we failed him so freaking hard. That was so bad. That was so bad. Like, he was asking for help, too. Like, he was very openly, like, trying to avoid self-medicating and trying to do the right things and asking people for help to get away from the place that he was in and all the people that were, like, harassing him and stalking him and causing all this shit in his life. He was asking for it, and people were just making fun of him and just adding to the bullshit of, yeah, it's just sad. It's sad. And maybe if we could see it clearer, then he could still be with us too. It's all the same. Yeah, it's connected. It's all connected. It's kind of like a self-hypnosis and neuroplasticity in a way. I think. I don't know. It's not really for me. I've tried, and I don't know. It was not good. It depends where you are and with what kind of system you got going on in your brain, and where you, if you're ready to go there or not, because it also, I think it depends on the person, the therapist. Some of them could be more into the, like a trauma voyeur person, like they're into the gore of it all, and they're not really there to help you. They're just there to hear all the gore and perpetuate you having to come back and keep paying $300 a fucking hour. Yeah, she made a joke about it being a mind erasure clinic because she did that Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind album based off of the Eternal Sun. Well, it was called Eternal Sunshine, but based off the Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind by Jim Carrey. So she did the Eternal Sunshine album, and then she was making a joke that, yeah, she had her mind erased, because that was basically the theme of that movie, was having the unpleasant memories erased. So she was basically, it was like a joke promotional thing for the Brighter Days image, whatever the fuck, Brighter Days Labs, wherever she was getting her EMDR therapy, basically. So that, I think, and then yeah, Raven-Symoné, you guys were mentioning Raven-Symoné earlier. She's mentioned that she for sure has a dissociative disorder. And I mean, when you start looking at people talking about their alter egos, like you've got Beyonce has Sasha Fierce, Mariah Carey has Mimi, the Emancipation of Mimi. That Courtney Stodden, I just did a video on her not long ago. She called herself Ember, was her alter ego, and she was deciding to go into music. So some people, it's like, is it their stage name or is it something else going on there, you know? We'll fill that out a little more later. I think that's probably a good start for today, and I'll maybe start filling a few things in, and then maybe it'll just be an ongoing thing. Well, forget follow the red brick road. Let's connect the red brick road. And there's probably a lot more red dots to throw in here too. But as far as just starting with the one big iceberg, which connects to, you know, if you watch The Roast, Billy Crystal names a bunch of his friends. It's like, where's all your big time friends? And one of them was the iceberg. And we know Cappy has talked about the iceberg. And we know Corey Feldman's been talking about there being big people that they can't talk about that they can't be touched. Well, who can't be touched? Who is like the biggest of the biggest that can't be touched or talked about, or you might not wake up, you know? Who are the Voldemorts? Yeah, they do. You got to think about it. It's like the trauma-based mind control is something they've been experimenting with the techniques since. Like, a lot of it was experimenting to figure out the techniques, and then once they kind of figured out the techniques, now they're figuring out different formulas of those techniques and what happens. What would be considered a success and what wouldn't, and depending on what outcome they're looking for. Where like Ariana Grande, I guess, could be considered a success, where Amanda Bynes was not. So what was the difference there? And then you've got, between this sphere, these guys, George Lucas, there's lost souls of the way where they're still with us, but they're no longer with us. Like, if you look at what happened with Jake Lloyd, I don't know what the fuck they were experimenting or what exactly happened there, but for the outcome of what he suffered since working with George Lucas for Star Wars, and when you realize that some of these people get into certain, or like they choose certain movies or certain stories because of a personal, like, it's a personal thing, right? Where, like, the Icebergs talked about how he really loves Peter Pan, and he did Hook in the 90s, and even that movie's a TW theory all on its own. And when you think about it, like, Peter Pan and Alice in Wonderland were written by known P3DOs. And basically, those stories became the most loved stories and most reproduced stories throughout time because they're so good at enticing children. Because they were written by P3DOs trying to groom and entice children. And so, of course, it's some of the best-selling children's stories of all time. And then, so if kids love it, that's one thing. But if an adult really loves it, if there's an adult that's really, really, really into that concept, and then there's the TW theory happening in that movie, you know, makes you wonder. Makes you wonder, why do you like Peter Pan so much? And why is there so many kids in tidy whities? Right? Like, maybe we just need a TW theory fucking map. But between Little Rascals, which actually, maybe we need to put that on there. Is that just Amblin, or was that, well, Disney, of course, probably. Hold on. But Bug Hall said that he had started being trespassed upon on the set of Little Rascals, and that movie, very much TW theory in a big way. So again, kind of a confirmation in such a way. And then he said, yeah, it was Amblin. And then he said that all the movies, like, it had followed him from movie to movie. Certain people were like, some of the same crews or same whoever were following movie to movie, and it was Disney movies that he ended up having the worst things happen to him. So make of that what you will. But, yeah. Like, we could go on all day on that shit. Like, and then it doesn't necessarily, I can't necessarily accuse this person of doing something wrong, but if, you know, if there's so many of these connections of this stuff happening on these movie sets, like, what are you doing as a director to protect kids if all these kids are able to have bad things happen to them on your sets? Maybe you didn't do it, but why is it still happening? Why is it happening so often? You know? How? Why? Who are the people that are moving from set to set that are all working around with the same people working on kids' films that are then convicted for crimes against children, but then are just hired on by a next company to work with children? Why? Why? Because they're really good at working with children and keeping them occupied and enticing them to do the things that they don't want to do. And like there's different layers to having those sorts of people working in those spheres. And like when you start to see that it's either people are catering to it, or they're turning a blind eye to it, or they're a perpetrator or a victim in pretty much every case. Like there's like one of four things that you could be to make it into the inner sphere of entertainment, you know, that to the A-list circle. We're gonna need to think of one. I gotta think of a caller for one for victims. Probably orange, because a victim and a whistleblower. I guess we could be orange instead of the yellow being, because I don't think, well, I guess Corey Feldman was a victim in a way. He said things had happened to him too, to do with the Alfie Soda Pop Club and stuff. But he's just mainly become like a very big, Yeah, maybe we'll make him orange too. Mainly a whistleblower at this point. Okay, hold on. Let me get my color scheme going here. But when you see the trail of destruction, it makes you wonder, maybe these directors and producers should be held more accountable to things, even if it's not them, even if it's a fucking stunt guy or a lights guy or a film, like the guy doing the camera. Even if it's one of those little people, should the director not be held responsible to any damages happening to children on their set? Which we already know, no, they don't, because Twilight Zone was, what was it, Jonathan Landis? John Landis, I think, used to be good friends with Spielberg, and they were doing the Twilight Zone movie together. And Vic Morrow and 2 child actors were killed on the set due to an accident, and they were breaking all these laws. There shouldn't have been kids on the set after hours. They shouldn't have been near pyrotechnics. They shouldn't have been, like, there was 3 or 4 things that were not supposed to be taking place, that the kids should not have even been there. And they died, along with Vic Morrow, which is the dad of, what's her face, which she's in some weird movies. But anyway, none of those people got in trouble. The production people, Spielberg, Jonathan Landis, the directors, all the people involved, nobody got in trouble for that. It ended up being like a slap on the wrist. And somehow, they just keep on going like nothing happened. But if kids are harmed on set, should there not be some kind of, more than a slap on the wrist and paying some settlement? It's like paying a speeding ticket. Really, the equivalent for these people, when you got billions of dollars and you pay them a couple $1 million to the families of a couple kids that you killed, like, that's the cost of doing business. Like, it's not really sweat off their back, Yeah, you know about it, Necessary Evil. The director should. Yes, exactly, Cupcake Explosion. The director should have accountability in those cases, but they don't. So who's going to take accountability? And who is benefiting? Why are people getting away with it and then still being hired on by the next company, like Brian Peck? How does he do crimes against a kid on one side and then get hired on by the next side? Same with Victor Salva. Why are these people still being able to work? And why is nobody taking accountability in the first place? Why did Francis Ford Coppola and George Lucas not be held accountable for providing the funding and the filming equipment to do this movie, where this guy did bad things to this kid? Which I'm going to add him in now, too. We're going to start adding in the victims, because maybe that even gives it a little more context. Which, if we really start going into it, like the Den stuff and the Bryan Singer, like, that's like 40 kids. So I don't know if we'll be able to, like, we might have to do little lists, like, that you click and it does, like, a drop-down comment or something. I don't know how we're going to do that. Maybe we're going to shorten this a little bit, too. And make it a little smaller, because we're going to have so many more things to fit in here. But he's spoken out. He's been pretty vocal. He did interviews with, like, Sky News and, what was the other one? He's been, like, trying to speak about it for years, too. And there was a segment, and it included, like, Todd Bridges and Corey Feldman talking about Corey Haim, and Ethan Forrest Winters talking about how that all happened. Actually, we maybe can fit his 3 names in there. But let's just make it a little smaller. There we go. That should be fine. But there was another kid, the kid that did the truffle shuffle for the Goonies. He ended up quitting acting after that to become, like, an entertainment lawyer. And Richard Donner paid for him to go to school. And I don't know, I feel like there was something weird there, a little bit. And when you start connecting all the dots in between us, I don't know. Maybe we'll make this one a little smaller, too. I kind of was just started off so we can make sure we could see everything here. But if we can just zoom in, it's probably fine. But some being bigger, like a bigger hub of it all, I guess I was kind of trying to make a little bigger, a little more standing out. Because I'll have to connect more things back to them. Because we still got to connect, like, Johnny Depp and Red Hot Chili Peppers and that whole saga into there. But that's, like, the music side of things, so I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to fit just yet, because there's so much to it. And maybe that's why we're going to need different mind maps for different things. I don't know. Yeah, well, that's the problem, right? Like, so many really great franchises and movies and whatever, like, when you actually start digging into it, you realize, like, oh, fuck. Like, especially if it ends up being a TW theory, which it's hard, because, like, when you're a kid, you love the movie, and you don't realize there's anything wrong with it, but then when you look back as an adult, then you realize how many kids died in the making of, basically. Like, not during the making of, but shortly after being in these movies, like with Stand By Me, everybody loved that movie. But then remember, Phoenix dead, Nick Reiner did the thing. Corey Feldman keeps talking about, you know what I mean, XYZ. So what's really going on there? Maybe if we were connecting some more of these dots, we can better understand what exactly is fucking going on here. On the music, yeah. Well, this all connects to it. Like, if you like, and this is a very finite, tight graph for a specific thing, but this one, just if you look at Sony and then the derivatives, like if we branched out to like Drive Records, there's a few derivatives, like there's so much more that's all Sony that you wouldn't even realize because it goes by so many different names. But even like RCA Records, that goes back to the Menendez thing and it connects back to the Sony thing now. So when you have like some of these people that maybe were trying to say something or were a victim, like Aaliyah was a victim, maybe I gotta put her as a different color, all these people trying to speak out about certain things during certain eras, maybe they were trying to say something, Maybe there was something going to come out and they wanted to, cut to the chase before that person could say anything. Because there is, like, a lot of really fucked up shit there that connects. And Sony has absorbed a lot of companies that were pretty questionable. And there's only, like, 2 or 3 really big companies now. And then same with the media. Media is slowly but surely being consumed by certain companies. Like Disney bought up Fox and all of George Lucas's stuff. They absorbed Kathleen Kennedy, who worked closely with Spielberg back in the day. She was his casting director. She's who found or like was in charge of picking out who was going to do what between Drew Barrymore and Heather O'Rourke. They both were going out for Poltergeist, and they decided Heather was better for Poltergeist, and then Drew was better for E.T., which is a TW Theory movie. That was Kathleen Kennedy, and then Kathleen Kennedy went on to be the head of something and absorbed by this company and that company. And yeah, if you start looking at who absorbs these companies, who's a subsidiary of a company, who's a derivative of a company, like there's so few companies. Like there's like 10 companies that are just like 10 companies on this page, but that they're all pretty much just Disney. Like Disney Television, Walt Disney Pictures, Hollywood Pictures, Buena Vista Pictures, that's all Disney. Touchstone Pictures, I gotta add on. They were like ways of doing different movies that weren't necessarily kid-based, but would involve kids. And yeah, like there's so much more going on there. Yes, which that connects back to the Brittany Murphy thing. So which, like, if you guys want to know more about all of that and why all these random people keep dying, I go into that deeper in the Brittany Murphy. I don't know if you can see this. Hold on. I gotta zoom out and then zoom in. There we go. How that all connects in the Brittany Murphy and why she was taken out, I believe was taken out. And it was pretty mysterious and suspicious why her and her husband both, like, within months of each other and for the same thing. That was all very suspicious. But the way this all connects in here, yep. It all connects. Which also connects to, like, Adam Schiff and the Clintons, which, when you go back to this, who was supporting the Clintons and Al Gore, and, like, this is where we gotta fit. Tommy Lee Jones needs to fit in here somewhere, because that's all very current. But this guy, too, he was active in some of that stuff back in the day, but more with the Obama Foundation. So when you start, like, not that it's about politics, but you can figure out which team they play for, because technically it's like sports with the U.S. Politics is like sports, and they pick different teams, and the different teams work together for different ventures, and getting different people elected, on state levels and federal levels and senators and congressmen and because they're all likely to support one another's business endeavors, whether they be legal or not. Saw an advertisement for Winkler to be on the Jay Hudson show reading his detective books to kids. What? Wrinkler? Do you mean, is that a different... I'm thinking, I thought you meant Henry Winkler for a second, but you're saying Wrinkler. Who's Wrinkler? Looks like an underground tunnel system. Yeah. Paul from Newcastle. That's, yeah, kind of. All the tunnels, all the rabbit holes are open up to tunnels, and the tunnels open up to great big caverns, don't they? But yeah, if I were to put in, if we're gonna do victims, this is gonna be harder. I might just do like a connect to den victims because it's like all encompassing, all these people, even Kevin Spacey. He went to the parties, but he wasn't necessarily connected to den, but he is also connected to Epstein and Bill Clinton and that whole rot. But it's both sides. There's rot on both sides, and it's just like it's two bad rivals. It's, you know, really when it comes down to it, it's one evil fighting against another evil. Yeah, Reiner was Castle Rock. Yep. Yeah, the child rap group. Yeah, with all the boy bands, girl bands. Like when you look at the Menendez thing, there was a history with what was going on with Menudo, but they didn't include any of that in the Menendez brothers trial. Like, I guess it ended up being a mistrial, the first one that had all the evidence that they had been abused, and then they ended up throwing all that out, and the next one was like such a miscarriage of justice. Their second trial that ended up getting them put away. But there was connections there, and there had been Menudo members making claims. Like, there was enough evidence there that something weird was going on, but they didn't want people to know. And that all connects back in such a way. Queen of the Damned. Isn't that J-Lo? Wasn't that J-Lo? She connects. I forgot to put her in the Diddy sphere on the other side. She's got to get in there, too. Oh, no, that was Aaliyah. Oh, shit. Yeah, my bad. How dare I confuse J-Lo and Aaliyah? I was thinking the Cell. My bad. But how dare I? That was very disrespectful of me. Very disrespectful, Tez. How dare you? J-Lo and Aaliyah are not even on anywhere near the same level. My bad. Please forgive me, guys. Just saw an advertisement for... Oh, yeah, I saw that one. Okay. So I'm trying to catch up with the chat now. I have to... Every once in a while, I have to make sure it's set to live chat, because otherwise I miss stuff, so I gotta go back and make sure I catch up. Yeah. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Necessary Evil. The penis breath. Yep. Yep. Why would he say that? Whose idea was that? It's like how pleased with himself Rob Reiner was for the joke in the Being Charlie movie with his son, where the one guy can't figure out how the other guy was benefiting because he gave his friend drugs to perform fellatio on him. And Rob Reiner thought that was so funny. It's so funny that, haha, but what are you getting out of it? If I'm getting the head and the drugs, what are you getting out of it? And it's like, well, because the gay guy wants to blow a young kid. Like, let's be so for real. That's what that fucking is. And oh, it's so funny. Haha, what a joke. That was the real blowout laughs. So what he kept bringing up in all the interviews, and it's not even funny. It's not even funny. Like, I watched that Being Charlie, and it's not even that funny. It's actually so fucking awkward the way that it's put there, and it's like, I get it, yes, but you're basically making a joke out of a rent boy that probably has no choice, and that just probably needs a place to stay, but that he's being taken advantage of and being plied with drugs. Like, let's make jokes out of basically somebody exploiting and purchasing a child with drugs. Let's do that. That's so funny. What a funny joke. Haha. Almost as good as the roast. So funny. Ha ha ha. Not. But yeah, the whole Aaliyah thing, the way the tours they went on, like trying to normalize that fucking relationship, that was so fucked. Like, what the hell was everyone thinking? And like, same, I guess, was kind of similar to the Courtney Stodden thing, where it was like, kind of, they were normalizing it, and they were like, it was about the shock and the awe and the sensationalism of it, but nobody was really saying it was wrong. We ain't doing nothing wrong, or whatever his fucking song was. The songs that were like going top in the charts while he was going to trial for all that shit too was pretty fucked up. Like, when you look back on shit, man, holy Christ. Yep. Yeah, Diddy was very pro-Obama. If you go back to my Diddy coverage, I go into the connections with him and the Obamas, and then connections with him and Naomi Campbell, and how that all connects to the Trumpstein of it all. But yeah, when you start, like, and obviously it's just like, it's two wings to the same bird. So not saying that one side or the other side is better or more evil or not. They're all not great, but you can see who plays for which team when you start really going into it. Well, and maybe not necessarily owned, but could have been a huge contributor, investor. Like, it's not even that he owned it, it's that he is a financier for all the billionaires. He was going to the Edge Billionaires Club as the special guest financier for all the billionaires. So whether you're a billionaire in entertainment, fashion, whatever media, whatever athletes, if there's money to be made, if you're a billionaire, billionaire, you are going to Jeffrey Epstein for financial advice. And so in a way, it's that he owned it because he was helping everyone make their money, that all were profiting off of that, I guess, would be my guess. Not that he necessarily owned it, but he had all these people in his back pockets, all the most powerful, richest people in all the industries, you know? If you go look up Edge Billionaires dinners, they stopped sharing pictures and info about them after like 2015 or 2016, but I do believe they were still having the dinners. And if you go back and see who is a repeat customer or repeat visitors every year, and which people, like Amazon guy and, you know, like the OG Google guys, like there's some people that it's like, I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means anything, but you should check it out. Yeah, they were, absolutely. And why would Trump go to the dressing rooms and be like, oh yeah, no, I'm just checking the merchandise? Why are you calling these underage girls merchandise at a beauty pageant unless you're intending to sell them? Absolutely. And the M2 modeling agencies, and then you look into like Peter Nygaard, like the connections are all there. We could do a fashion industry connections. Why do you think like the Olsen twins went into fashion and then just like dropped off the whole fucking planet? They were like, fuck, it's over here too. We can't ever escape. There's nowhere we can just do what we love and not be surrounded by pervs. You know? Yeah. But it's pretty clear. If you look, I did actually on Patreon, I did an article about that. The nexus between Epstein, Trump, and Diddy. How that all connects. All their companies. It's like not a super deep dive, but it's like a little entry level. Like, here's the rabbit holes to check out over here, guys. Here, let me put the stake in with the little sign. Like, here's this rabbit hole. Check it out. Yep. Yeah, that's on this side. This, I'm gonna have to clean up this one probably before it ends up in the Brittany Murphy video. But the way that all of that connects, and there's probably more names to add here in red. But, yeah, the way it all connects. And then two Johnson & Johnson baby company people. This was the heiress to the Johnson & Johnson baby company fortune, Casey Johnson. And that's the type of baby oil that Diddy was using. And this woman, Gia Alamend, was the Gerber baby and Johnson baby model. And she was frequently appearing on Ellen. And when all these people were suddenly dropping dead for seemingly no reason, it all maybe connects a little more than we realize also. P.S. And I guess Ellen's coming back. She thinks she's gotten off scot-free, but it's yet to be seen. Her and her cuddly McDiddy snuggles, whatever the fuck she was calling them. Ron Howard used bad stuff on him to make him play his role in Arrested Development. That show's pretty crazy with 2020 hindsight. Which one's that? That's got like Michael Cera and stuff in it, doesn't it? Is that the one you're talking about? Let me look this up. Ron Howard, he's like a wild card too. Same with like John Hughes. John Hughes, I don't know exactly how or where he's going on the list yet, but he's gonna need to go on the list here somewhere. Started his career as a child actor before transitioning Hollywood Walk of Fame. Blah 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 blah. Oh, he's related to Don Knotts. Interesting. Oh, fuck off. Fuck off. He was cast in the lead role to the influential coming-of-age American Graffiti. Okay, guess what? Guess what? That's the movie that these guys made together under this company, and the film, the cameras they used to film American Graffiti are the cameras they gave this guy to film this movie and whatever the fuck they filmed with this guy. That's the fucking guy. For fuck's sakes. That's the American Graffiti. All the cameras they used for American Graffiti were given to Victor Salva. So that's interesting. And then he was on Splash, which is Tom Hanks, of course, and then John Candy, which that's somewhere with the John Hughes Red Brick Road that I don't know if we're allowed to go there just yet or not. But then he also did Willow. That was such a good movie, but that's shaping up to not be such a good movie anymore either. Oh, Apollo 13. Oh, he was in some interesting stuff. He's a wild card. Ron Howard is definitely a wild card. Backdraft. Parenthood was weird. Which then connects back to, Steve Martin, Martha Plimpton, Keanu Reeves, which connects back to the other fucking stuff with River Phoenix. Martha Plimpton dated River Phoenix, and Keanu Reeves and River Phoenix were really close. Oh, he did A Beautiful Mind, too. Oh, but then there's the Akiva Goldsman, man. He's a weird guy, too. He's a wild card. Anthony Rapp is one of the guys that had accused Kevin Spacey. Adam Goldberg. What was he from? He's from something. I can't think of it right now, but he's come up in something, too, before. What was it? No, I can't find it just on the surface, but that's a name I've come across. Like, if you just start going down these rabbit holes, man, there's... it's just a situation, man. But no, he seems like a wild card. There's some questionable associations, but I think he might be okay. Ron Howard might be okay. But then he created... Was that his... He founded Imagine Entertainment with Brian Grazer and Ron Howard, and then what movies did they do? Because maybe under their own selves, like some of the weirder movies, Buddy did under Amblin. The Iceberg did it under Amblin rather than his own name type thing, or had somebody else direct it, but it was still under his own company. Rob Reiner does that too. Or some of the weirder movies were under Castle Rock, and he didn't direct them, but then he was there and on set and part of it in a big way. Like the Lord of the Flies. I'm just kind of going down the list. Maybe I should be scrolling this where you guys can see. But the influential coming of age movie, American Graffiti. Oh, man. Mackenzie Phillips. That poor woman. Yeah. Yeah, once you start going down the rabbit holes, though, you start making these little connections, and eventually it's going to all end up on this board somewhere. Rob Reiner's not laughing anymore. No, he sure is not. You haven't watched The Being Charlie? Yeah. It's not, it's like, just for the sake of the investigating, watch it, but it's not a good fucking movie. Like, there's no heart and soul left in that movie. And there was not much left of Nick in that movie. And it was supposed to be about him and his life and the rehab stuff. But yeah, Rob obviously made it about himself, and made it his own little fantasy running for governor's story and his own little redemption arc that made him look like a great dad at the end, but it was not really the case of what happened. Yeah, let's ask Ellen what really happened to Twitch and Anne Heche. Yeah, the Casey Johnson. Yep, she's connected to Tila and the Brittany Murphy. Martha Plimpton's parents are... Oh, who's her parents? See, and this is why if we do it as a group effort, then we fill in a lot more blanks sooner, you know? I can only do so much. I only know so much based on my own research and whatever, you know? Who is her parents? Oh, Carradine. Keith Carradine. Wasn't it David Carradine died in a really strange situation? And he was in Pretty Baby with Brooke Shields. Go fucking figure. Go fucking figure. Yeah, she's gonna need it. And Susan Sarandon keeps coming up in weird places. She was on The Client, which was, this is where we're gonna have to put Tommy Lee Jones in here now. She keeps coming up in weird places. How am I gonna connect him back to Reiner now, though? They got that Shock and Awe movie. I'm gonna have to make some room here. I'm gonna make some more room. Make all these connecticles. Cause then he connects with like Will Smith and that whole fucking. So he is an important one. We do need him on here too. Mainly trying to put just like the main hubs, so it doesn't get too complicated here. But I think for who he was, politically connecting. Somehow we'll connect all that back together. But for now, you are connected here. And we're just going to put you there for now, because I don't know where else to put you right now. But that Shock and Awe movie was with him, and maybe that's how we're going to connect them over. We're just going to have to make a little more room here. Okay, hold on, guys. Bear with me. We're going to make you a little smaller, too. Not to diminish your presence and being a big part of the beginning of everything and beginning and the end of everything here. This is the end of everything. You're the end of everything. I haven't slept since I woke up, thought my whole life was a lie. This is the end of everything. You're the end of everything. Okay. Oh, I need one of these, that's why. Like, where am I going here? We're lost. We're lost. And that was like a political movie, too, on its own. Go figure with their political nonsense. Okay, here we go. Well, it doesn't need to be that big. For frick's sakes. There we go. That'll make it easier. Friggin' around here. I think actually that was a Castle Rock. How? Okay, hold on. We're gonna make this work. It's gonna work. We're gonna make room. Yep, it's a situation, guys. And now that the trauma apocalypse is unfolding and more crazy things are happening, we may as well get on the same page here, at least, with all this, the past stuff. So as things are unfolding now, we can make the connections quicker and easier. Come on now. That's probably fine. Which he actually connects to this too because of the Men in Black movies. So actually this is all going to need to move a little bit because we're going to have to connect this over to Men in Black over here somehow. This is where it gets complicated, guys. But hold on, let's not get too ahead here. Which is sad, because he was really good in that Bruce Almighty movie, or whatever it was. Was it Bruce Almighty? I don't remember now. Okay, sorry guys. Let me catch up with the chat here. Just let me finish this connection. Oh, for frick's sakes. Okay, whatever. Good enough. There we go. David Carradine was allegedly researched. Yeah, he comment. Yes, yeah, and very similar to the Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell situation of it all. Yeah, and Robin Williams also, and they ruled that as self-inflicted, but I don't believe that. And because the fact that he had just done a movie about it too, I feel like was something more of like a sending a message. Yes, fair enough, Grand Riser. Yeah, don't have idols, but if you do, don't meet them. Very true. Anybody I had respect, because I've never really been a fan of anybody or anything, but like any people I had respected, any filmmakers, pretty much anybody that like I liked the movie or I liked the book or whatever, it's all been ruined. My whole childhood. Oh yeah, the Gene Hackman situation. Yeah, that was pretty suspicious too. I don't know how I'd fit that on here right now. This is sort of, I'm already going to have to start spreading it out more so I can fit everything in between because it's already getting a little bunched up here. But, the hardest part is getting it started, I think. And then once you go from there and start connecting stuff, it gets easier. It gets, yeah. What else do I want to add right now? I don't know. That's maybe good for now. I think it says enough. Just for the first episode here. What are we almost 2 hours now. So probably don't need to go too crazy. We already did like the marathon today. And we'll pick it up more tomorrow. I'll come back on tomorrow and we'll do more of this in between. But I really got to finish that final episode of the Brittany Murphy so that I can get on to the next Rob Reiner series episode. But I think now that the next trial arraignment thing's been pushed to like close to the end of February, we got a little more time to spread out on the Reiner thing, so I can maybe just get the Brittany Murphy thing out of the way and a couple more episodes of the John Bonet out of the way, and then circle back to that. And then all of this kind of ties into it anyway, so I guess it's all part of the bigger picture anyway, but yeah, these two big situations today, this Matt Prokop and the Timothy Busfield, the way that it fit right into everything was quite interesting. Very interesting. And even these connections up here, like how this, it's like finding a way around to be in it without being directly in it, you know? Find his way in to different spheres without having to be directly involved, you know? It's a little spooky. It's a little spooky. Yeah, no, I'm not, we'll just chit-chat now. I think I'm done adding more connections for now, but we can chit-chat for another few minutes. I figured, like, 2 hours isn't bad. So we'll chit-chat for another couple minutes here, and then yeah, I'll come back on tomorrow and we'll do a little more of this. But, because, yeah, that's already a lot to absorb, I think, for anybody already, I think. It's already very, revealing for how this all connects to... Which I'm going to have to finish some more of these connections because this all connects in together more so. But the working around way of being involved without being involved is very tricky. And I think it's on purpose, strategically on purpose, you know? Yeah, Lou Taylor. That would go in on like once we break into like, because there's the crossover between this sphere and then going into the music, because it's basically the pipeline at this point when it comes to like pop music anyways. There's a whole another pipeline here that will connect over, it'll probably all end up being on the same thing, but that connects over to like all this stuff over here, because this guy, you know, Britney Spears, Ariana Grande, a lot of these people start in this sphere and then are moved into, wherever they belong. You know, it's like the pipeline of like what kind of talents do you have, what are you willing to do, and for what price, and so on and so forth. You know, or some make it out the other side, like Hillary Duff, who's I guess turning out, according to all the mom groups, is not a nice person. I don't know, but there's a reason people like Hillary Duff make it out the other side in one piece, and then like people like Amanda Bynes don't. Some people are willing to play the game to either be a bystander, turning a blind eye, or to be they were a victim but not making a fuss about it, or they're a perpetrator. You know, seems to be the situation when it comes to the entertainment industry. But yeah, I'll have to tidy up some of these lines a bit too, and make a little more room in between, because there's so much more going on. So many more red dots to include. But if we're talking about just the most recent things that are evolving right now, how it's all coming together is pretty it's a situation. Like, and then yeah, who's gonna be, so if something happened to River Phoenix on, you know, the set of Stand By Me, who is going to be responsible for that? Obviously, Rob Reiner didn't take responsibility. You know, if any of these kids on any of these film sets, like, that's where it needs to change. That if shit's happening to these kids, then, like, that person that's in charge of the movie, that's putting his name on it, like, I'm the director of the whole film. Well, if you're supposed to be directing things, who's directing the kids to be touched? Is it you? Because if not, you should be doing something about it and taking a stand against it and making a fucking example of it. What did she say about... Oh, tell me. What did Roseanne say about Sarah Gilbert? Because, like, I know Sarah Gilbert also, her and Drew Barrymore were on that movie, that Poison Ivy movie together, which was a really fucking... That was, like the definition of TW theory for a young women's side of things, anyway. Prime Cut with Lee Marvin was about mafia selling meat and young women. Ew. Yeah, flesh tickets. Skin tickets. Yeah. That's how it happens, though. There's usually, like, a front. You know, you got the baker in the front and the mafia in the back. And then parents. Yeah, why are the parents not held accountable? Why is Ariana Grande carrying all her shame and regret and pain of her childhood? And where's her fucking mother to take some responsibility? You look at, like, Corey Haim's mom. Fucking... Oh, yeah, that's some of the parents, man. Or, like, Heather O'Rourke's mom. Like, oh, no, we don't know. We don't know what happened. It definitely wasn't that guy, but it maybe happened on the film set, but we don't know. If something was happening, we think we would know, but most of the time you don't know. Something's happening to your kid, or you wouldn't be allowing it to happen. How does all this happen to kids? Right under their freaking noses of the parents half the time. Like, Marty Weiss was really close. This guy, who is connected to this guy, that also just recently was arrested with media material. Creating and distributing material. This guy, he's connected to this guy, and this guy was like the favorite. Like, parents loved him for how hands-on he was with the kids. They would do like Halloween together, and he would dress up with the kids, and the parents loved like that they didn't have to worry, and he would just take them to their auditions and stuff, and they didn't have to worry about a thing. But he just like wanted to be able to have access and the trust to have access to these kids, and so on and so forth. Oh, thank you, Necessary Evil. I guess my fucking things aren't popping off. The Streamlabs thing, I don't know why. Hold on, I probably gotta, like, refresh it or something. I don't know what its problem is. But I guess the timers aren't going. But yeah, thank you for that. I guess it doesn't matter. We can fucking... I'll fix them for next time, if they're not. We're still just gonna, yeah, we're pretty much rounding her down here now. Having a quick chit-chat. But maybe we should throw that in there. Was that before Amblin? Let me look that one up. Poltergeist. Poltergeist. Whatever the fuck. However it's said. That's like a cursed movie, too. The amount of people that died making, like, after that. Oh, I guess it was just directly. Maybe after that he was like, maybe I don't want to put my name directly on things. Maybe I just need my own company. Oh, it was under his company. Yeah, he directed it, and then it was also under Amblin. Okay, we're going to need to make more room here, too. I wonder if I can just... Yeah. Oh, oops. Okay, we're figuring out how all these move. It's pretty convenient, but I'm like... kind of like a noob right now with this shit. That's probably going to be smaller, too. He doesn't need to be that big. It's not that big of a deal, but... I guess just because when I was zoomed out so you could see the main hubs. Well, if you think about it, if nothing else, like that's buying and trading and selling children in a way. Like, in a way, it's kind of all part of it, just differently. Like, Orlando Brown explained it pretty good about how, like, you see them in the catalogs, like, doing modeling for clothes and stuff. Like, all of that, in a way, is, like, selling your kids to somebody for some reason. Toby Hooper. Who the fuck is that guy? Because, no, he did the screenplay and then it was directed by Toby Hooper. Oh, he did Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Is that it? Sorry, guys. I'm just, like, reading into this here before I throw it in to see what else. Because I know there's a few people. Oh, he did a bunch. Oh, the Fun House. Yeah, that sounds like Clown House to me. I bet you there's something weird there. Something's telling me there's something weird on that movie. He did a lot of, Oh, of course he did. Yeah, he did a bunch of these, in the mortuary was, oh, that kid, yeah. Bug Hall. The way it all connects back to some other stuff sometimes. It's kind of wild. But I guess he just did the first one, and then what happened? And then it was directed by Brian Gibson. Who the fuck are you? It's weird. That's weird that it wouldn't be the same. He did some weird shit too. Interesting. Okay, well, let's just focus on the first one here. Okay, hold on. Yeah, I guess we'll put it right here for now. We'll move it around. We'll need more room later. But, just to get it in here, we'll have to move. Everything's gonna have to move eventually to spread out to make more room. But this is fine for now. Shit. Okay, you're gonna have to have small little letters. Hurry, Heather. You can still be, yeah, you can still be bold. Oh, that he's got to connect in here somewhere because he was there. It was Johnny Depp's club that River OD'd outside of, had been brought outside as he was ODing. They kicked him out, like they threw him outside so he wouldn't be doing it in the club. And he was supposed to play that night with members of Red Hot Chili Peppers. He was supposed to play with Flea and Gibby Gibby Hines from the Butthole Surfers, and another guy. I think John Frusciante from Red Hot Chili Peppers, he was supposed to play, or he was at least there. All the Red Hot Chili Peppers were there. And, yeah, it's still highly debatable who actually furnished River Phoenix with the cocktail that took him out. But, yeah, it was Johnny Depp's club, and then Johnny Depp was they were going after him. One of the other silent partners of the club, Anthony Fox or something like that, I think his name was, he was going after him for embezzlement, and then he disappeared randomly, and, like, River Phoenix died, and there was just all this fishy stuff going on back then. And then, like, he was 26 or something, and he had just been dating Winona Ryder, and, like, River Phoenix was supposed to be doing a movie with Winona Ryder coming up. So, like, there was just weird shit going on that makes him seem a little bit, makes it sus. I don't know, not to say that Johnny Depp did anything wrong, but it was just a sus situation. And that was just like the birth of the Dark Hollywood thing, was the River Phoenix. And then the TW theory is the Stand By Me, and the way that it all kind of connects back with some stuff is weird also. But that was some of my earliest, the earliest Dark Hollywood documentaries I did was Johnny Depp and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and to kind of be covertly going in and around speaking about the River Phoenix thing, but without it just being like a River Phoenix video, if that makes any sense. Yeah, he was part of the Menudo, the Ricky Martin. But he was one that was willing to play the game and be hush-hush. And then, I'm pretty sure Ricky Martin's the one that's got accusations against him from one of his nephews. Yeah, he was trying to party on John Frusciante's level, I think. Because John Frusciante was the fact that he made it out alive, man, is actually really, really incredible. But yeah, like the movies he was on, there was a few movies he was on that connected him back to some of those kids from the movie Kids, that didn't make it, like Justin Pierce, who was connected to Drew Barrymore, who was connected to, like, when you start really making all these little connections, it's freaking crazy. About the leech part, or which part, Grand Riser? Because I'm sure there's more. I don't know. I know a lot of people really like that movie, but that was one of those movies I was just like, I don't like it. Like, I've always kind of been weird that way, though. Like, and people always thought it was because I was trying to be obtuse or something. Like, you just don't like it because everyone likes it. Like, no. And maybe a little bit. Like, I don't automatically just like what everyone likes just because everybody else likes it. But that was kind of one of those movies that I just, I don't know, I always felt weird about it. Same with, like, E.T., same with, like, there's all these movies where everyone loved it, and I was like, I don't know, there's something weird about it. And then I get older, and I start doing this research, and then I realize why I don't like it, you know? A lot of them, it was the TW theory, and maybe a part of me was like, okay, but why are these kids naked? Like, why do the kids have to be naked? This isn't even necessary for this movie, or the plot line, you know? Why do I have to watch Henry Thomas being naked, almost naked in his tidy whities for a whole 40 minutes at the end of this movie? Why do I have to see Bug Hall naked? Why does he have to run around town for 20 minutes in his tidy whities? Why is that necessary to the plot line of the movie? Like, what does that have to do with the movie? You know? Oh, the railroads. Oh, well, no kidding, and go figure. That part, they were really actually outrunning a train during that part and having to come across the bridge, and the way they shot it, it made the train seem a lot further back, but it still was kind of risky business. And that was a part that Rob Schneider, like, verbally abused them, like, emotional violence, to get them to do the part right, because the dolly grips or whatever, the people pulling the camera back were starting to get tired, and it was like they were getting, losing steam, and trying to get this perfect shot in front of a train, because we couldn't just green screen a fucking train and be safe with kids. No, let's actually have them physically outrunning a train to get the perfect fucking shot, and then let's traumatize them by verbally abusing them, so that they're scared and crying and fucking loud their reactions like as if they're really outrunning a train. Good job. Yeah. Great directing. Perfect. Let's do it that way. Let's traumatize kids to get a good performance. And then the way they laugh about it, it's just like method acting, haha. Like it's just how it's done. Like with how Kubrick did Shelley Duvall on The Shining, and kind of like damaged her in such a way, mentally and emotionally. You know, and he's one of the good ones, I thought, but I don't know. The more I'm looking into things that way, I'm not so sure anymore either. I think he was kind of trying to tell on people, but maybe because they were only doing something slightly worse than what he was doing, you know? It wasn't necessarily that he was a good guy, but it wasn't... I don't know. Some of them are just wild cards, too. It's like, I don't really know where to place you, because it seems like you want to tell people, and maybe you know, you have to play their game enough in a way to be able to do what you love, but then are you one of them, or are you a good guy, or what the fuck? Where do you fall in the line, you know? It sounds more like meth head acting. Oh, shit, yeah. Our resident comedian, Necessary Evil. I was gonna cough on that one, jeez. Oh, went down the wrong tube. Well, that too, right? Chrome to the dome. Yeah, there's so much more to fit in here, though. Oh, shit. I gotta connect that in, too. Hold on. Almost forgot. But this poor guy went back to Michigan and is working in some little computer shop, just doing his own little thing. And if anything, he did the most work as far as, like, the website stuff and all the back end, the graphics, the editing, like, all of this stuff. This guy was doing so much work, but then he was all, he'd been a kid. He met this guy. This guy was, like, in his 30s, and he was, like, 15, and he was offered a job and went to go move in with the other guy in New York or whatever when he was like 15 years old, and then they recruited Brock Pierce together to start Dead. And if anything, he did the most work, was the most exploited, and got the total shit end of the stick at the end. Oh, psh, yeah, you think? Definitely something to that effect, or to harvest, just for harvesting in general. Numbing and harvesting. Could be organs, could be anything. I don't know. Could actually be for dental sometimes. Yeah, that's that's actually supposed to be my next episode of the Dark Child Star Nexus series, but things sort of were coming up in between, so I put that on the back burner as well. But that also connects to the Brittany Murphy video, in a way. Yeah, Ryan Grantham is who you're thinking of. Hate You 8340. Yeah, like, well, that's it, right? Like, where do you draw the line of that? But because, yeah, she didn't say a bad thing, and it did turn out to be a spectacular fucking performance. But it had affected her, like, where she was at in the end, and how degenerative her mental capacity was by the end. I think had to do with some of the taxing performances she did earlier in her career. Yeah, so that's the flip side, is he was doing Eyes Wide Shut, and they wanted him to remove like 20 to 30 minutes out of that movie, which was basically the child plot line, the child exploitation plot line of it all, and he didn't want to cut it, so they cut him, and then they cut the movie anyway. And then guess who absorbed his like lifelong not sound effects, but lighting and special effects team that he did Space Odyssey with, and he did like some of his best fucking movies. He'd worked with them for years. He had his own techniques. His whole team. Guess who absorbed his team? And then suddenly was so fucking famous and so successful after. These fucking guys. Which maybe we need to put that in there. The Industrial Light and Magic. Yeah, let's talk about Industrial Light and Magic for 2 fucking minutes. And how they basically absorbed his films and stuff too, like his ongoing work, and then butchered it. That artificial intelligence movie with Haley Joel Osment was not supposed to be what it turned out to be. How fucked up it was. It was not supposed to be like that. What am I looking for here? Fuck, hold on. But yeah, then they got together. George Lucas and Spielberg got together doing whatever they do, using the Industrial Light and Magic, which also I guess he also owns THX. Of course he does. But the Industrial Light and Magic, a lot of those people were Kubrick's people that he did his best stuff. And it's been based at the Letterman Digital Arts Center in Presidio of San Francisco since 2005. And now the Walt Disney Company owns it as part of their purchase of Lucasfilms as, whenever that happened. But yeah, that was all Spielberg, or Kubrick's people. And all those movies they did. Yeah, Heath Ledger connects in with the Ryan Grantham, which connects in with the Brittany Murphy, which connects in... Actually, we should connect it in here somewhere, probably. Because, yeah, that movie was saying some stuff. The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. That was saying some shit. Right now, about this guy, basically. This guy, just last week, Melissa Gilbert, his wife, was talking about how against crimes and harms and trespasses against children she was. And then guess what? Last year, he started a not-for-profit for children's theater. Oh, that's weird. Imaginarium, that's actually reality. Then it's not imaginary at all. Yes, well, Presidio, the place, which is, yes, that place, near that place, the base that did that thing. Yep, that Presidio. Oh, yeah, and then who keeps coming up everywhere? All the time. Aquino, yeah, he'll fits in there somewhere. Whole setup underneath. Yes, they all do it. Because, sure, they'll have their own dentists come and do their shit there, too. But then what else could that chair and those specific drugs be used for? Think about the laughing gas of it all. And just other drugs that are at their disposal that humans aren't necessarily, And if they wanted to do any kind of harvesting, I think probably having that set up is a good cover for that. And the tunnels. When you think about all the tunnels, and you think about now, James Gunn, who's directing for DC now, has sent... Oh, of course he has. Isn't that... Cappy was just talking about him, too, in one of those movies. Oh, that's so friggin' crazy. I knew about... That's so funny. Like, I knew about the Industrial Light Magic shit, but I did not realize that it was in Presidio. It wasn't. It used to be... It started in Van Nuys, moved to San Rafael, and then since 2005, it's been in the Letterman Digital Arts Center, which, what is that, like David Letterman? Probably not. What Letterman? Letterman who? It's the Presidio is the former U.S. Army base. The Art Center takes its name from its location on the former site of the Army's Letterman Army Hospital. Okay, so it's like right in there. That's gross. That's creepy. I don't like that. Now we know what happened to Jake Lloyd. Oh my god, they broke him. Fuck, that's so scary. That is terrifying. I don't like that. Because then, yeah, like, they work together, but also, they all work together. Like, it comes from both ends. He got it from both ends, this poor young man. No wonder. And he started talking about stuff. Like, he was starting to speak out about everything. Like, all the things. Yep. Yes, I remember. Yeah, there's all that, too. Like, and people don't want to believe in the tunnel systems, but, like, what do you think happened during Prohibition? There was an elaborate tunnel system created during that time. And then what do you think it was used for later? And you don't think that people haven't been able to, like, renovate and refurbish and expand and put in new sections and build on that? Yeah. He survived, but, like, just barely. He's still very in their clutches, too. He's sitting in a fucking facility somewhere under his mother's thumb. He's talking about he's got schizophrenia, but I think he's got schizophrenia in the way they try to say, like, Bam had schizophrenia, Oh yeah, and the temple was literally just like a set. It was just like a wooden set piece of like, oh, look for the thing when you're coming near the island, like as like a what, make it easier to spot from the sky and from the water. But yeah, that was just like a set piece. If anything, it was just like painted wood. It wasn't anything. It's everything going on inside that island. Yeah. And then there's the Zorro Ranch, all the stuff, the labs and stuff beneath Zorro Ranch. Oh, there's so much more going on, guys. That's like... Oh, yeah? I could see that. I could see that. They got, like, the eyes almost, yeah. If he did the little updo with his eyebrows, I could see that. Aquino's got, like, really spicy eyebrows. Oh, yeah. No, they've had him off and on in facilities for a long time. I did a video, and, like, I was doing the Dark Child Star Nexus, and the Bug Hull and Jake Lloyd videos really didn't do good. And I wonder which Voldemorts I was talking about you're not allowed to talk about. Because the Eddie Furlong one did great. Misha also didn't do too bad. But I wasn't really talking about Voldemorts. But then I go talking about the Voldemorts, and you can see how, like, one video gets 170,000 views, and one video is lucky to get, like, 1,700 views. You know what I mean? So that's how we're discovering who the Voldemorts are, and why I'm choosing to call this one Iceberg instead. Because it's, like, the full iceberg, in a way. Even this guy I probably can't even really talk about. But... yeah, he's like, he was locked in a facility for like 18 months or whatever, and then they've kind of let him out, but he's still in one of those facilities where they're like constantly monitored. And he's basically under conservatorship, if not actually under conservatorship. And the mom, Jake Lloyd's mom, it's like if Amanda Bynes and Bam Margera's parents had a baby. That's Jake Lloyd's mom. If that even makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, if you combine how overbearing and interfering those sets of parents were, you get Jake Lloyd's mother. She was very controlling, overbearing. And it probably was very close to the Ryan Grantham situation. It was very similar in some ways. And he was trying to escape. They locked him up because he was trying to escape. He didn't have a driver's license. He had nothing to his name. And he was trying to drive to Canada from Florida and get the fuck away from everyone. And the mom called in, like, whatever. Somebody called. Something happened. And he got picked up and got dragged back and thrown in a facility where, like, sometimes these people just need to get away from the people trying to control them and profit from them, you know? No, he's not. He is not. He wouldn't be part of it if they gave them $1 billion fucking dollars. He gave them permission to use old footage, and he's receiving payment for them to use old footage. Because after what they did to him on Jackass 4 and put him through that whole fucking Florida shuffle bullshit, like, fuck, he was going to want to be a part of any of that. They got to pretend to make nice, because they're all part of the reason that all fucking happened, was because of the stipulations they put into the contract for him to be part of Jackass 4 after he basically gave them all the career. Like, none of that would exist. Jackass would not fucking exist if it wasn't for Bam Margera. And the way those fuckholes treated him through that whole fucking thing, pardon my language, guys, I'm getting fired up, but I lost respect for all of them. Like, I grew up on that shit. I grew up, you know, that was my era. I was like 10-year-old, of course. It was my demographic it was aimed at. The skateboarding and the Viva La Bam, CKY video stuff, all that stuff, all that OG shit was my demographic, my generation, you know. So I grew up on that shit, and I liked their group, and I liked, you know, it was like a nostalgia thing. But yeah, after what they did to him, and then how they treated him when he was just trying to get out of that loop and trying to get help, trying to get away from the people holding him down and bumping him around all these facilities and putting him on all this different medication that was making him overweight, and he couldn't skateboard anymore, and it was destroying his fucking life. It was destroying his frigging life, and anytime he was blowing up about it and getting frustrated, they kept using that against him. It's a whole situation. I did a video about it before, but I think I ended up taking it down, so I wanted to just put it into one video. I was doing it in 2 parts, and then, I don't know. There's always other stuff that happens, though, and then I fucking have projects that end up on the back burner that I never end up getting back to. But that whole, like, he ended up getting freed and everything ended up being fine, so I figured it was fine. I didn't need to revisit it, I guess. I just didn't bother, but yeah, that whole situation was messy. So get your money if they want to use your footage and they want to fucking put your name on it still and they want you to be a part of it enough in the way still, because now they feel bad. So they're like, yeah, come back, be part of it. He's like, no, you can use footage of me from 30 years ago if you want, but fuck off. Right? Which, that's what they do when they're trying to get them in a conservatorship, which, actually, speaking of which, with the Reiner and Tommy Lee Jones thing, the Victoria Jones, that last year, that Victoria Jones, Tommy Lee Jones' daughter, before she just died the other day, this last year, he was trying to get her a conservatorship, and sure as shit, she kept having run-ins with the law, and kept getting picked up for this and that and the other thing, kept getting provoked. Because the more they act out and act crazy and get in trouble with the law, the easier it would be to have them put on a conservatorship. They were trying to do it with Aaron Carter. They did it to Amanda Bynes. They did it to Britney Spears. They did it to fucking Bam Margera for a minute there, but he got out of it. You know what I mean? Like, that's been the playbook. Lou Taylor wrote that playbook. Ask her about it. Like, fuck. What, Amanda Bynes threw a bong out of a window? She got caught smoking some weed and threw a bong out the window? When the cops came? Who called the cops? Who cares? I mean, I guess then it wasn't legal, but it was just weed, and that's what had that whole thing, a lot of that starting for her, getting them up her ass, and the conservatorship shit, was because she was just smoking friggin' weed, and threw a bong out of the window. Oh no! What a wild, crazy gal. How dare she? Yeah, it's a whole situation. It's a whole friggin' situation. Even the censorship patterns are giving them away now. Yes. Yep. For sure. For sure. Like, it's so clear as day. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I know who the Voldemorts are now. They who cannot be named. Makes it a little more obvious that, like, I'm on the right track, and then why I kept getting throttled, and why I kept getting weird shit, and, like, time over time, weird stuff's happened. But the more I call it out, it seems the less it happens, because it does make it more obvious that it's like, oh, okay, somebody doesn't like what I'm talking about so-and-so or XYZ, like, you know? And now that they've got the hype function, though, and they've got more of, like, a learning algorithm for matching content and stuff, I don't think that it's as easy to suppress anymore either. So I think we at least got that going for us. For going forward. I think he's very carefully managing himself. He has learned from those before him. I think he saw everything that happened with Aaron Carter and thought, nope, we're not going that route. And he luckily can get away and go to Canada, and he's got, like, properties in the north, you know, far and away from it all. He can get away from it and be away from the paparazzi and be away from all of it. Which I think if Jake Lloyd had made his way to Canada, things would have been different for him. But a lot of the time, they don't even have access to their own money. They get, like, a fucking, what is it? What's the word? Like an allowance? Like, Britney had an allowance. Britney Spears had an allowance to spend her own money. And there were, like, 8-year-olds making more money on YouTube and spending more money a month than fucking Britney friggin' Spears was allowed to spend. Which is disgusting. Right on. Thank you, Bigger Pick Chick. Welcome, welcome. Well, it could be. Because, like, look at what's his name? Her dad is saying some shit. Like, I don't know. She's kind of a wild card. And I thought Selena Gomez was kind of a good person, but I don't think she is anymore. So I don't know about that. Stipend's another good word for it, yeah. But, like, an allowance. Stipend's like you're doing something and getting paid for it, where it's more like it's your money anyway, but they're, like, holding it for you and giving you an allowance from your own money. It's kind of messed up. But yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think he's kind of going back and forth. Like, he's having moments where it's freakishly similar to the Aaron Carter thing, and it freaks me out, but then he kind of bounces back. So I don't know what he's doing to keep himself grounded, or how he's been able to keep his shit together, but he's doing a better job so far than what was going on with the Aaron Carter thing, because obviously that girlfriend in that situation was causing a lot of problems also. But I don't know. Haley might actually be a good one. I don't really know. That one's she's a wild card. And yeah, the dad's a wild card because he's saying a lot about Hollywood all the time. So I don't know. No, he's not really a loony. He was young in the industry way back when. He knows some stuff. Yep, yep, that's right, Kim. Same idea with the Wendy Williams stuff. And now more people pay attention, though. Like, they can't get away with this stuff so easily because too many people are paying attention. Like, now it's been ruled that Wendy Williams was fine and she didn't need to be locked up all that whole time. But then does anybody get in trouble for that? Does anybody take accountability for that? Or are we just going to be like, oh, oops, sorry, never mind, you don't have dementia. Here you go, you're free again. And then nobody faced any repercussions for that? Well, and I think he has. Like, he broke free from Scooter Braun. He's independent. He's doing his own clothing line thing with that Skylark. Like, he's doing everything right to be able to regain his independence as the best he can. But, yeah, he does have to still be careful of people around him. Even the people closest to you sometimes you can't trust, and you hope that you can. But, fuck, people you know in your whole life you can't trust sometimes when it comes down to it, when money's involved. I don't know about that. I mean, based on the information given, you could make that guess, but I don't. I think there. I don't think it's as fully loaded as that. I think there was an accident, and I think he just was already not supposed to be involved with her, and I think yeah, there's a lot more to that, but I don't think it's quite like that per se. Yeah, that's fine, whatever. Yeah, because he owed them, and he still was in contract with what's-his-face, and... But yeah, he's working on doing his own thing the best that he can. Because it's hard once you're, like, so fully enwrapped in all this shit and have contracts with different people and you have different obligations, sometimes it can be hard. I think he was a very sheltered kid that was not supervised or monitored when he was finding his way online, and he became fascinated by very morbid, gory things early on, and I think that he's an example of how twisted one can be. Even if you have everything, you have the most supportive and, wholesome kind of parents and upbringing, and be raised all the right ways, but then how that extreme can lead to problems later. Like, if you look at Jeffrey Dahmer's upbringing, it's not much different than David's, as far as the extremely religious and sheltered and all these things. Like, who's going to take responsibility for that? Because really, he's just a kid. He's just a kid, and he was very childish, which is why he related more. Because, like, even before the lockdowns, he was starting to be homeschooled because his parents didn't like that he was getting exposed to rap music and shit at school and getting access to computers at school. But instead, now he's sitting at home watching gore as if it were, like, gratifying of himself. Like, he talked about how he liked that better than adult material. For the same reasons, though. And, like, they created that. He's sitting there talking to a bunch of kids because he's being sheltered and repressed from his own peers, so he's not keeping up with his peers. He's getting older, but he's still relating with 13-year-olds at 16, 17, 18. Like, they created that. Who created that? Who is going to take responsibility for that part of it? You know? Oh, yeah, the sci-fi-tology, that's a whole other thing for another day. That's on here, though. That's on the Brittany Murphy side of things. That all ties in. Oh, for fuck's sakes, why is it not letting me scroll over there? Whatever. Can you see it? I think you can see it. I have to be able to get all the way over there. It's not... Oh, for fuck's sakes. Sometimes it gives you the bar at the bottom, but sometimes it doesn't. So you kind of just gotta scroll around here. There we go. Yeah, that's all in there too. It all connects over in such a way. So we'll get there too. That's its own fucking sphere, because that connects up in here, which obviously connects back to the Kubrick, because Tom Cruise, which connects to other things. Yeah, what they did with the sun jet, the purity rundown, or whatever they call it, the Scientologists call it. Oh yeah, that I go into that in the Charlie Sheen video, because he was with her before she went with Travolta. But a lot of this stuff I've gone over, like in the Drew Barrymore video, in the Charlie Sheen video, like all of this, the Corey Haim thing, that all comes up in those videos. Because I was basically trying to show this, but without kind of coming out and saying it and making accusations or putting myself... Like, you couldn't just come out and say stuff there a few years ago. You had to really be tactful with it. So the Dark Hollywood was like bios, but it, like, I was able to talk about things without saying it, touch on things, and without really saying or making an accusation. People could see the connections themselves and make the connections themselves. Who did he make that show with? I think there's another person I gotta add in here for this one. But yeah, Charlie was so close with Brian Peck. He had him come work for him on anger management, and when they found out that he was convicted for crimes against children, they told him they needed to get rid of him, and Charlie was like, we're not doing the show. If you get rid of Brian Peck, I go too. So he like put his ass in the line to keep Brian Peck in a job. So I wonder why that is, and why he was so close with this fucking guy. So many predators. Convicted predators. Gross and believable. Which editing? Oh, I use all different stuff. It really depends. And honestly, like, I've been trying so many different things this last year or so, because so many new tools and things have become available. Definitely Canva is a big one. I've been definitely fooling around with CapCut. But historically, I've been a big fan of Camtasia for the simplicity of it all, but with having enough additional features, but without it being so heavy duty as like DaVinci or Premiere Pro or whatever. So, but it really depends. It really depends what I'm doing, because some stuff I can do it fully through just any one thing, but other times I'm using all of them. For like a big project, I'll use like Camtasia to stick it all together, but I'll be using CapCut to do different parts of it, and I'll be using, you know, I'll make different things in Canva, and like a lot of good stock footage and stuff from Canva I've started taking advantage of more now. But honestly, like, I'm still figuring it out exactly what's going to work for me, because so many new things have come out in the last year or two that like, you have to use them because it's like this is how you stay ahead of the curve and keep things looking fresh and new, and just being able to keep up with people, because the speed of, like, some people are just crapping shit out so friggin' fast, and maybe because they have teams and stuff too. Like, I don't know, I'm like a one-man band over here comparatively to some other channels where they start it with some friends from school or whatever, and then they got the one guy as the face of it, and then they got 5 other people helping do the rest, so then they can crank out stuff daily like nobody's business. But then I find it doesn't have the same kind of heart and soul either, you know, so I don't really want to do that. No, but she's still got her channel and all her. She does her own updates. Because honestly, like, I want to do stuff that's impactful, that teaches people stuff that's like, you know, like, a lot of us have a story, and like, I have my own horrifying childhood story, but I don't need it to be validated or proven one way or the other to want to do good with that and to want to do things about that. It doesn't have to, it's nothing to do with me, you know? It's about protecting other children. And I feel like it got too much about just, like, proving what she was saying was true versus using what she knew and what she had experienced to teach things and to educate people to do with extracurricular activities or putting their kids in. Like, she knew some stuff about dance and what to look out for, and we were going to work on a video, like an educational type video, like a deep dive how I do, and yeah, whatever. It's a whole long fucking story. It doesn't really matter. It was our our primary objectives were no longer aligning. So I think that, you know, if you want those updates, she's got 25 platforms you can get them on. I was directing people to them the whole time anyway, so it's not like that I wasn't trying to pass that torch back over anyway, but yeah, I don't know, and there's some associations there that I feel that I don't want to be a part of it. Like, if you're talking about how Freemasons are coming after you and it's this, that, and the other thing, but then one of your closest people that you've been doing interviews with and staying close with has their husband in Freemasons, then you really must not be too afraid of the Freemasons or what they're doing, because that freaks me out. Like, we can't talk then if you're going to associate with Freemasons and you're like, oh, well, they're low level and they said they're not going to kill us. Well, it doesn't matter what level. Are you going to talk to the lowest level of child trafficking industry for any reason? Just because, like, I don't know. I don't really want to get into the whole fucking thing. It doesn't matter, but I just, yeah, I don't know. My own safety and my own sanity, I think, has to come first and foremost for what I'm doing and for what I'm trying to do and for the dots I connect and for the danger it puts me in, that I don't need to be anymore putting myself in danger. And it was making me a target of all the people that were causing chaos and ruckus to do with her family and whatever. It was like, I don't know. It was just not. It was a lot of spinning tires and getting nowhere, and I can't do that. I need to be progressing and moving forward and feeling like it's purposeful and having a purpose, you know? Yeah, man. No, and I wish her well, and, like, it's what it is, and maybe I don't know, maybe there's, it's a different situation, but for what I know of Masons and what they do, and, like, I wouldn't want to be associating with any of them at any level for any fucking reason, knowing what I know about them. And if, I don't know, it's not my place, it's not my business. I can just choose to be a part of it or not part of it, I guess, is where it comes down to. Yeah, and just, like, there was just so much other cyber stuff going on that I didn't need to be inviting it into my life anymore if we weren't getting anywhere with it, you know? She can do her thing with or without me, you know what I mean? So, like, if it was just a lot of going in circles, I felt, for what I'm trying to do anyways. And maybe it is waking people up in her way and she's doing what she's doing and it's working for her and that works, that's fine, but I'm already flying too close to the sun as it is for so many different ways and in so many things, and I got my own stuff with my own family I got to worry about, and including Freemasons, which I I don't know. I don't know why they would. Maybe it's like a keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer type situation. I don't know, but that seems very risky to me. And it makes me uncomfortable to have Freemasons that close to you, but be talking about how the Freemasons are hunting you. That seems weird to me. The last thing I would be doing would be wanting to be a part of any of it, even if it seemed like a down home, small town faction that's chill and they do good things and they think they're doing a good thing and they're low level and they don't know really maybe what they're a part of bigger on a bigger scale. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really want to go too much more into it. I think I probably already said too much. But yeah. I think there's still just a lot of work to be done, and yeah. I don't know. Well, and it just, like, there's certain aspects of it that I was being led to believe it's one thing, and I was going to bat for, and then I found out I was being lied to about certain things, not necessarily directly to by her or whoever, or even Shelly, because I was talking to Shelly too. I've talked to her off and on here and there, but I don't know. Just, yeah, my gut started telling me I needed to back away just for my own, the sake of myself and what I'm trying to do, the preservation of my own projects and purpose and objective here, you know. Yeah, like they just started getting a little concerning for my own personal issue. It was starting to collide. Like, I have reasons, like, that I would... Like, the Freemason thing stood out to me for a reason. That part of her story stood out to me for a reason. And that was a level of understanding, personally. And... So, yeah, if it's it stopped... I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It just stopped seeming like... I don't know how to explain it, because there's no hard feelings. Like, it's all good. It's whatever, and, like, we check in here and there and whatever. I don't know. It's one of those things I just don't have time to even know for sure, and it's not really... it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't... I don't know. If you find yourself questioning or finding contradictions or conflicting things happening in a situation, it's better to just walk away, I think, in any case, you know? Because it's just, things can get so chaotic and so much drama and so many different things going on at once in a situation that's not even her fault. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's not even her fault that was going on that I just can't be part of it. Like, I got too much shit to do. It's just, you start getting surrounded by energy vampires sometimes. When you're any kind of public figure, really, like, there's certain people that start coming into your sphere sometimes that you just got to be aware of and know when to cut it loose and know when to, I don't know. And that's not saying anything bad about her or anything specifically, just in general, you know. You just got to be very careful with who you allow in your energy field, especially when you're doing this kind of thing. Like, it's already so much fucking darkness, you know. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So it's all good. I just, yeah. But anyways, we're almost like 2.5 fucking hours here. I was gonna do like 2 hours, but here we get chit-chatting, and next thing you know, fucking hour later. So I guess we'll leave it at that for now, yeah. And then, I might add some more stuff before I hop on tomorrow on this, but I think we'll start this, being a group project type thing, because there's so much more to add in between. And if you guys think of any other links or anything that I'm not noticing as we go, feel free to pipe up. Because I think having this visual, and then especially if I can share the link once it's kind of more together and people can kind of check it out and read the notes and share it around and stuff, like whether I'm on or not, I think will be cool. And I think it just for any future videos, having the reference, I think is going to be helpful. So I think this will be good. And this, I'm going to have to clean this up. This all started, like, in comparison, now that I know how this works and I've gotten more of the hang of it, this compared to the one we're just starting to put together now, this is way cleaner. This is way easier to to follow. So I think I might have to redo the Brittany Murphy one to include it in the video. But getting it out and just getting it visual to see how it all connects and see how it all works together is helpful. Akuma Matata. Akuna Matata. Exactly. Yeah, thank you guys. And yeah, thanks to everybody that came out for the marathon and then this. That was like kudos. You guys are true blue gems. And enjoy the rest of your evening. And yeah, maybe I probably maybe won't have more cappies for tomorrow. Maybe we're just gonna do this instead. I don't know. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see what happens between now and tomorrow too, because it just seems like every day I wake up, something crazy has happened, new and crazy that all fits into the same puzzle. So I guess we'll just play it by ear. Yeah, well, it definitely makes it easier for me to keep track and for me to, like, as I go, to start adding to it. I think it just makes sense. It just makes sense. But yeah, guys, you, stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is, wherever you are, your day, evening, morning, whatever. And, yeah, if you haven't already, check out the TW Theory, because that'll give you a lot of context for everything. Like, it's going to come up a lot more in the Reiner series, too. Oh, right on, Renee. But then, yeah, other than that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you on the flip side.
Red bricks crumble under my feet, a path that whispers a cursed heartbeat. Shadows stretch long, they know my name. Every step forward